Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 92, and the last episode of 2023. And what are today's topics?
Left-wing grifters or not? Republican against voting rights for women. Trump banned from Colorado and now Maine ballot, I believe. Yep, and Maine. Flat Earth Republican woman is back. Simon Clark's 2023 year-end climate change, and Joe Cap bullied off of YouTube.
Only 6 topics today, but all of them are pretty long, so I think it'll even out. So, what do we want to talk about first?
Well, first off, we've got, of course, the lefty grifters.
All right, so, of course, guys, remember several episodes ago, we did a topic on which people on the right are grifters and not, and all that. And we said, if we find enough people on the left to cover, we'll do it. Well, it took us several weeks and all that, but we finally got a list. And I think an even bigger list than we covered on the right, on who's a grifter and who is not. And oh boy, this list is long. As is Vosh, Hassan, Cenk and Anna, which I wouldn't be surprised maybe they talked about more about TYT as well, Shoe on Head, Crystal Ball, people on Majority Report, Mike from the Humus Report, Dave over at Rational National, Chris Ray Gunn, Hunter Avalone, Xander Hall, Keffels, ContraPoints, and Fought Slime. Some of these guys I haven't heard in like a long time, so any controversy involved I probably don't know much about. Alright, so what do you want to start with first?
We can do what we did with the right and start with an early example of a total grifter. And that'd be Hassan. You think Hassan's a total grifter?
He is. I think he's more of an idiot, to be honest with you.
His whole thing is America bad. Like there's a few of the people who come through here that I like them, where it's like their whole ideology is America bad.
Well, of course, when he hangs out with Second Thought and Hakeem, no surprise he become more America bad.
There's another one we could have added. Second Thought.
Oh yeah, being more like fascist now, pretty much.
Yes.
Defending authoritarianism now and all that. Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound very socialist of you, and we've covered your videos before. Can't go that too far away from the sun and all that. So yeah, Hassan, with him doing that more often now, and you've seen his meltdown with Ethan Klein, remember about Hamas-Israel war, and of course him being, of course, when he got triggered that Dylan Burns ripped him a new asshole about the Russo-Ukraine war. He's probably a grifter, although I still think he's more of just an idiot more than anything.
Yeah. You'll find that a lot. On more of the left, it's more just idiots than actual
grifters like on the right. We were able to find easily who was a grifter and who was not on the right. Alright, so besides Hassan, who's next?
Vosh.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I think he is more of a grifter, unfortunately. You might not remember this, but I remember there was a stream I saw him do when he was debating someone. I think it was even during the 2020 election. And he said he would be willing to lie about stuff if it got what he wanted politically done. Which is unbelievable.
Using the right voting tactics against them.
Yeah, just like it reminds me of a whole bunch of idiots. Just like it reminds me of a whole bunch of idiots in his channel that admit that they lied about Biden, pretending and told people that like he's like Bernie and all that to try and get him a better chance to win. And all like no, don't fucking do that. The
alternative is a fascist dictatorship. Is potentially a fascist dictatorship. I can kind of understand where it's coming from, but not good on the optics front.
Like, if you want Biden to win, you have to be honest about it. Just say you want him to win because you think he's better than Trump. Don't come to me saying, like, oh, he's going to be like Bernie and all that. Like, no. Just no. I don't like lying pieces of shit, especially when they're that blatant about it. And then when they admit it, too. Like, just be honest about it. At least Vosh is a little bit more honest. Like, I would say he's more honest about that, but then he said he's willing to lie if it gets him what he wants. So, I don't know if I could trust him on that one. But I still think he's an idiot, too. But that's like the most obvious way you grift there, lying about something in order to get what you want. So that's pretty bad. And then next up,
Cenk and Anna. So more generally, TYT. I think TYT is a bit of a spectrum.
Yep.
Right. Okay. First off, who do you think is more griftery, Cenk or Anna?
The way with his campaign right now, I probably might say Cenk, since his run might be a book tour.
That's what I think. Yeah, Cenk's definitely more griftery than Anna. Well, that's where we see. I think we see the. And to see where Hassan gets it from. So with the son, as you said, he's more of an idiot than an actual grifter.
Yeah, like Chink, that's like the only thing I could see why you'd even be running to for the book tour, especially since you can't run at all because you're not an American citizen and all that, as we covered, and all that. Plus you made a fool of yourself over the last few years, and of course Anna. I don't know if she's a grifter. I think she's just more of a turf right now with her meltdown about
down the turf pipeline.
Yep, that was wild. And of course, as we've seen over the last few years, they've gone like pretty more right wing over the years and such.
I've noticed that too. Like, speaking of swinging back to the right, shoe up,
shoe on head. I haven't heard about her in like so long, so I don't know much about what's going on with her now.
Man. Okay. So, this is where I'm coming in with multiples of the reasons why I despise her. First off, I know I've listed her as a left grifter. She's not a leftist. She's a centrist at best. It is really a far right. It is really at best a useful idiot for the far right, which she's always been. And at worst, she's a far right wing nut hiding her power level.
The only thing I know much about her lately is that she's more like pretend like she's obsessed with being like a tradcon waifu and all that.
No fucking surprise considering she has another boyfriend now who's a Nazi.
Oh, so much for being with Armored Skeptic.
Armored Skeptic was more just he was just a weirdo. Like, he didn't seem particularly far right, but yeah, he seemed like he was weird now I come to think about it. Like, he has some of the skepticism, but like always seemed weird. Like that's just how I can describe Armored Skeptic was weird.
So yeah, what do you guys say about Shu? Grifter or not?
Grifter. She is 100% a grifter. I don't know what her politics are. She just seems to swing all over the political spectrum, depending on what she thinks. Okay, no, maybe not grifter. Clout chaser. I think she's a clout chaser.
I mean, that's not that far off, though.
So, yeah, it's like the internet grifter. I think would be more accurate for Shu. She's an internet grifter because she's going for clout than anything else.
And unfortunately for me, I haven't paid attention to her much, or a lot of people on this list, so I can't really say if she is or not, or any of the others probably coming up. Last I know is that she was like a track-on, like, waifu type and all that. Alright, so now we get into someone I definitely know. Crystal Ball.
Crystal Ball. Alright, now and I put her on the list. I had her where I wanted to kind of contrast her on breaking points versus just about everywhere else.
Yep. When she's on with Kyle or Crystal Kyle and friends, she sounds normal and all that, but then when she's on breaking points, she is nowhere near as forceful on being progressive on that show where she is on Crystal and Kyle. Like, put in her place, basically.
I'm going to say now, she's a lot more, I'd say, that she's a lot more griftery on breaking points than she is just about anywhere else.
It's like she's both a grifter and not. It's like when she's forced to be one.
It really does depend on where she is. Like, whether she's on breaking points or on Crystal Kyle and friends.
Maybe Kyle needs to be on breaking points more. Maybe she'll finally grow a spine and all that.
I think Kyle will get kicked off after the first episode because he's too. It's a bit of a right wing echo chamber there.
And he is too honest. and that's why he's not on this list, guys, because he's one of the most unprogressive people on there. All right, now the majority report.
Out of all of them. You go first.
I don't think Sam is one.
Oh, and definitely not. He's
probably up there as like one of the more honest progressives too. The only time I thought he was wrong was on the forced to vote thing, but other than that, nothing really else.
But I think even then, he's more. He was looking more at the trying it on something that didn't have a chance to get through. Like he agrees with the concept, but not how it was executed, and not how people like Dora and that used it to endlessly bash progressives.
Right. Whereas all the other idiots were just against the concept, period, remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, Sam is cool, but what about the people you were trying to talk about?
The other two, Emma Vigilant, I'd say she's mostly genuine. Not quite on the level of Sam. Because she came from
Yeah,
TYT back when they were a bit better.
I'm not really
But,
as big of a fan of her because she was part of the SJW part of TYT during that period. So I'm a little bit more skeptical of her, although she has gotten better. But I wouldn't. Yeah, but that's not really. That's not really being a grifter. That's more like she was just an idiot, and I'm still have like a deep-seated thought in her that she's still probably an idiot at some things. And then of course, is Bender still? Did Bender ever come back?
I think so.
I know he's on the leftist mafia and all that. Don't think he's a grifter.
Yes, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's there.
Don't think he's a grifter, but I've talked about before. I don't really like him because he went like he made fun of like men's rights advocates and stuff like that to the point where he was like,
he's got like Steve Shives.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, no. Although to be fair, he's actually just like Sam, more on the Ukraine side of the Russo-Ukraine war, unlike Emma and the rest of them. So base, I guess, so like a mixed bag. So I don't think either of them are grifter. At worst, I think they're either idiots or just not well thought out stuff.
Like Sam's like one of the most genuine ones there.
Yep, like Kyle.
All right.
Next up is the Humanist Report. Mike, no, I don't think he's a grifter. I do think he's, as I said before, I think he is too woke at times. Like, remember we covered, like, he didn't care. I mean, he said before he doesn't believe cops when it comes to stuff and all that. Remember that? So he doesn't.
Yes, I remember that.
And remember he was okay with. Remember we covered killer whales destroying yachts and all that with people on them because they were rich.
That was cringe as hell.
Yeah, that is very unbased. But I don't think he's a grift at all. Just very woke and dumb at times. And then next up, Rational National. I don't think he's at all a grifter. I almost put him up there with like Sam and Kyle and all that.
Yeah.
And he's not woke like Mike either, which is base. And some things, like, he is way more reasonable than a lot of people on the left. Like, he's even willing to admit that, like, the vote shaming tactic like Vosh and them do for us who may not want to vote for Biden doesn't work and all that. He's like more like Kyle, which, thank you. It's nice to disagree with someone and not have them call me a Nazi and all that because I don't want to vote for Biden, even though he's going to win my state no matter what and all that. So it's nice and all that. And yeah, I don't think he's a grifter at all. And now we're going to get into more people that I don't know as much, especially next up.
Chris Reagan. I thought that he's checked out honestly in the last few years.
The last time I ever heard of him is when he was on Vosh, me talking to Vosh. That was back in like March of 2020, and he was pretty progressive sounding and all that. He sounds like, because I remember he was part of like the SJW movements in the mid 2010s and all, but I didn't pay attention that much. But he seemed more like us, like actual progressives that criticized SJWs on that, but didn't go right wing like a bunch of idiots did. The so-called liberals, remember?
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know much about him, so I can't say he's a grifter or not. And next up, this guy has always been accused of being a grifter. Hunter Avalon.
Yes, Hunter Avalon.
Which we covered before. Haven't heard him in a long time because I haven't watched his stuff lately. He used to be a dipshit Trumpster and all that. But then back in 2018 or 19, he had a change and he started to become like a social democrat. Like one of the few idiots on the right that actually moved to the left because he used his brain, people. He had to deal with arguments that he could not reasonably dealt with, and then he researched stuff, and then he learned that we were right and all that. And of course, the idiots on the right always accused him of being a grifter because I think they're just deep down butthurt because they know he's right and all that.
And they're projecting.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they always have a meltdown that he is still like the track Han, like family and all that, even though he's a progressive, which gets conservatives so triggered when progressives are like him and all that. Which is funny because he's doing the exact same thing you guys like, but because he's progressive, now you don't like it?
Actually, his wife actually cheated on him, so he's got a new girlfriend now.
Yep, and split up and all that. But yeah, I haven't heard about him in a long time. And the last thing I covered, he would be like, he's become like almost like a drama channel now, like going after idiots on YouTube and all that instead of or doing debates and all that. So haven't really heard much about him. But do you think he's a grifter?
No.
Neither do I at the
not.
moment.
He's up there with Kyle and Sam and them.
Well, we'll see. If in a few years, all of a sudden he like changes or whatever, then maybe we'll have to reconsider on that. Maybe they were right, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Now we're getting to someone who I haven't not heard of in a long time, Xander Hall.
Remember with Hunter that the jealous ex-boyfriend. Initially, when I heard about this, I thought it was his girlfriend that the madman was trying to kill. No, it was him.
Plus, nice to see you. Nice he's a fellow Marylander too, remember? Now we're getting to someone who I haven't heard of in a long time, Xander Hall. And before you say anything, I know there's like some big controversy with him and Keffels and all that, but I have not paid attention to it whatsoever, so I don't know anything about it. I used to watch him before.
It involves Xander Hall and Thought Slime are both part of it.
Okay, well, like, I used to watch him before, like, in 2020 and all that. Then he went into, like, he was, like, voicing, like, oh, if you don't vote for Biden, you're a Nazi and all that. So I stopped watching him. The last time I ever watched him was the morning after the election where he was streaming Fortnite and all that. And he said something, like, one of the coolest things I remember him saying. He said, something along the lines of, like, if Trump actually wins, then we really do have to consider not voting for the Democrats at all, or not unless they have a progressive next time around, which was, thank you, that's what I've been saying for a long time. So it would be nice if you didn't, like, call us all Nazis and all that if we disagree with you and all that. So that was nice.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't know about anything else involving him whatsoever, so you had to explain all this to me.
About that, he's been going down after Keffels for this stupid shit that, all the shit that, around the noodle gate and that. Oh,
I don't know anything about. The only thing I knew about Keffels before I started watching was like her thing with Kiwi Farms and Hunter Avalon. Remember we covered that. So I don't know anything about this. So you probably have to explain it all.
Okay. Oh god, where do I begin with this?
And I'm sure you said it involves false slimes and Keffels. We're gonna get into those two as well. All right.
Okay.
Can't wait to get my popcorn to hear how insane this story is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yes. Okay, so I'm going to try and find this. So, if you remember, August 2022, when she got swatted.
Yeah, by Kiwi Farms and Hunter Avalon stuff.
Yep. And, of course, she's been just going to do something there. And then the hotel was swatted. And the hotel was inundated with pizza deliveries. Using her dead name.
You say pizza delivery?
Yeah. And so there's a new one. And
of course, dead naming too. Of course.
Yep.
Alright, sounds like the normal online bullying and all that, but what does that have to do with Xander Hall?
Yeah, and then what happened was, after then she admitted that she needed to go to rehab because the bullying and harassment was getting too much.
Fair.
And then a ton of people, including Thought Slime and Xander Hall, continued participating in harassment and attacking campaigns, trying to get her either pushed to murder or pushed to someone to try and murder her again.
And for what reason?
Oh, where was it again?
Let me guess, because they don't like her or whatever.
Yeah, there's something with, I'll go back a bit to find it.
I just remember, too, thinking about it. I think Xander Hall used to be, like Hunter Avalon, a Trumpster, too, and all of a sudden he became, like, a progressive. But it seems like he went down, sounds like he went down more of a bad path on, like, Hunter. So maybe he was a grifter. But, of course, like I said, I don't know much about him after 2020.
Yeah.
So it's like he's become like a transphobe or something.
So it's just looking at well, some people were like with Keffels is also a massive shit poster. She's like Vorsh in that regards. And so people are using that to attack her as well.
If you're shit post, you gotta expect to get shit right back.
Yep.
But death threats and all that. unacceptable still.
Yeah, she's an openly trans Twitch streamer, which is a big chunk of it.
Plus, she triggers them because she triggers them by pointing out how much of an American Diabolist they are. Remember?
Yep, I remember that.
And that's like the main reason why I started watching her too, because she went after the people that needed to go after her, like Hassan and all of them. All right, so maybe that is something I have to consider about Xander Hall perhaps being a grifter. Maybe I need to go check on him again after all these years. So then, well, you said, well, this involves Fault Slime too, so I guess we should get to them now.
Yes. Okay.
I haven't heard about Fault Slime in a long time, and I know there was like some drama they were involved in a few years ago about something, but I can't remember what it was. So might need a refresher.
Still going there. Oh, and when you talk about the internalized misandry, oh god, the one video I saw that Keffels replied to, when he replied to Seanhead, oh my fucking god, the Thought Slime was worse than Steve Shives.
I think if you post the video, I might remember because I think I seen Keffels cover that. Oh boy. And I think Shu covered. I think Shu was covered too, and even Vizabit's usually in the right or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Hang on.
Like I said, like we said, and unfortunately, guys, we're going to be getting to this later on with like the last talk about Joe Cat. There is a lot of misandrous on the left.
Here we go.
It's absolutely unacceptable.
This is the one.
Oh yes, I watched that. Yep, I saw that video.
Yes. Oh man. Yep.
So I bet you hate it because you had to like Shu all of a sudden for a moment.
Like,
did it hurt?
It's like Keffels, Vosh, etc. I like you guys, but seriously, Shu is a right-wing plant. Come on.
I wouldn't even say even like Vosh.
She is.
I said
she's a right-wing plant, and I fucking hate her, but that's kind of she's
broken clock is right twice a day. You mean to say?
Yes.
Or like
which annoys me
it sounds like the shit that
it
reminds me of the crap I had to deal with years ago if I had to defend Dorr on something, or more recently with Biden. Remember, when he does something right, we had to deal with idiots on the left that don't ever acknowledge when he does something right.
Yes, ironically, like Dorr.
So yeah, what's this Fault Slime shit about again?
Oh god, I don't remember much about him, but he's one of those ML. He's one of your Stalinist types.
Tanky's like Yankee Tanky.
Yep. Yep, he's one of those.
Classic American Diabolist. Her prior trigger that Ukraine is hopefully defending themselves.
Yep.
No surprise. So I don't know much about being a grifter because I haven't seen them in such a long time. But an idiot and a misandrous,
absolutely,
absolutely idiotic and misandrous. That definitely.
Yep.
And of course, we didn't get really into Keffels much other than the drama she had.
Yeah.
So let's see. Like I do remember when we covered her doxing thing with Hunter and all that. Like she was like such a Karen to him, even when he apologized and all that. Like I really didn't like her, even though she was a victim of that, because she was being so insufferable. But then I finally saw her going after idiots on the left for once. I started to like her again. So nice and all that. So I think I heard people. I'm trying to remember what the criticism was against her. It was like I think I remember people on the left saying she was a grifter. I think, like, kind of like Hunter, like, used to be on the right and is now on the left now or something like that.
God.
I don't remember exactly what it was because it just went out one ear and out the other. Do you know anything about this with Keffels?
No, because I literally only discovered it really, like, in the last few months, honestly.
Of course, I've been watching for the last few months as well. So, like the only thing I could say negative about Keffels at the moment off the top of my head is her Karen level meltdown to Hunter, and I don't know if she's like full on like Vosh and all them on this, but I think she does like defend like you vote for Biden and all that. Now, is she gonna go all the way like, oh, you're a Nazi if you don't vote for him? I don't know. and all that. But that's really the only thing I could say about her in terms of negative. And that would leave only one person left, ContraPoints, who I have not heard about in a very long time. And of course, ContraPoints was a trans YouTuber that would do very long essay videos on stuff like that. And a lot of them were pretty good, but after that, I haven't heard about them ever since. I remember last time I heard they had like a complete meltdown about Vosh saying something and blocking it all that. And if I remember correctly, if Vosh was in the right in that, it was like him doing like a misogynistic joke as a reply to idiots on the right or something like that.
Yeah, like towards J.K. Rowling.
Oh yeah. I can't remember what it was, but it was so funny.
Yeah.
And of course, Karens on the left have to have a meltdown over everything, as always.
Yep.
So yeah.
I think Contra's become more griftery now than she was.
I am
not full grifter, but she's become more griftery.
Like grifter in what way?
Where she's kind of just, maybe not like griftery. Actually, no, internet griftery, I'd probably say. Where she's kind of just, because she was one of the ones going after Keffels at certain points and just kind of lashing out at people.
Sounds like to me, ContraPoints is just more like an idiot, or I don't know what the term is. Because like, wasn't SA like YouTuber, now all of a sudden stopped doing that, and then maybe like a drama person or something like that.
Yes.
Because that's that's all I know about her. The essay videos and then the meltdown with Vosh, and that's it. I haven't heard about them ever since. So I don't know what to say. Alright, so that's it for all the people. So let's go like a quick rundown. Vosh, yeah, he said things that would imply he's a grifter when he says he'll lie about getting what he wants. Hassan, yeah, he's probably a grifter, but I think he's more of an idiot. Yeah. And I get triggered every time I hear his name. Like I've never liked him when I first saw him. I remember first time I saw him, he was doing like one of those stupid SJW videos on TYT, and I've never liked him ever since. Chank, I think, is more of an idiot, and he is probably a grifter trying to do his presidential run to get book tour done and all that. Anna, she's a turf. I don't know if she's a grift. Well, I can't say that because TYT's gone more right-wing over the last few years. Oh, that reminds me, too. Do you remember their meltdown about shoplifting at department stores and all that? And then Vosh did a video recently showing that it was all complete crap because they were like gung-ho on saying that this is a common thing and all that.
Yep.
Shows why you shouldn't listen to the right, you idiots. Because the right are always wrong. So yeah, that probably is a grift job there. Shoe on head, you think she is, or somewhat. I don't know enough to say. Crystal, yeah, that is, that's undeniable grifting when you're on breaking points, but act normal on Kyle. Majority Report, Sam's cool. Emma and Binder, I think they're more ignorant on some things. And then Humanist, Mike, he's not a grifter, he's just too woke at times. Dole from the Humanist Report is fine. I'm Rational National. Chris Ray Gunn, I don't know enough about him, but from what I've seen, I don't think he's a grifter. Hunter, I don't think he's a grifter, but I haven't seen much about him in months. Xander Hall, don't really like him, and the stuff he made sounds like more like a drama person than necessarily a grifter. But hey,
drama whore.
But hey, drama whore can get you a lot of money, so that could be a grift. Keffels, I don't know much to say about being a grifter or not. ContraPoints, that sounds more like just, well, it is kind of a grift to change to become like a drama whore and all that. Oh god, I'm going to be called misogynist for that one. And then finally, Fought Slime, sounds more like just a misandrist, if anything. But hey guys, like I said,
worse than Steve Shives.
And that's something that you're worse than Steve Shives, who haven't even heard about Shives in a while. What does he still do?
He's still trucking along on YouTube. He's still trucking along. But he's still doing his videos.
Is he still?
Which I was surprised to see.
Is he still being an idiot?
Yeah, his most recent video was yesterday.
I wonder if he's still being an idiot now and blocking people and all that. Gee, I'm still blocked on Twitter even though I never talked to him.
Probably.
Just like I'm blocked by TJ Kirk even though I've never taled to him. He blocked me on his new Twitter too.
No, he does a lot of Star Trek retro reviews now.
Like TJ, that's a very Steve. As I said before, TJ, that's a very Steve Shives thing that you did. That have like a block that automatically blocks people for whatever reason. I never talked to you or Shives, and then I found I'm blocked by both of you. That's wild. So yeah, like we said, guys, like there's not that many grifters on the left. Like the grifters that were on the left, we already covered them. Like Dorr, Hinkleberg, and Candace Owens. Yeah, those people were grifters on the right now, so we already covered them. The people on the left that are remaining, it's more of we think they're idiots or stuff like that, and that's not necessarily grifters. Not that it makes a difference in my eyes. You're still pretty bad. All right, so I think we've covered enough of these grifting idiots. So now, on to the next topic, I guess.
Topic 2 will be Republican against voting rights for anyone.
Of course, why am I not surprised? Republican, of course, against voting rights for women? Are you surprised?
Nope. Against voting rights for anyone that's not them.
Yep. So yeah, pretty pathetic and all that. So yeah, let's check out this Karen that Kyle is covered.
All right, so here we go. That Turning Point USA event that I'm getting a lot of material from. This guy is Jason Whitlock. And
who used to be on NFL and Fox as a reporter from NFL games for Fox.
And, super conservative guy, now works for the Blaze. And he kind of raised everybody's eyebrows. Media Matters picked up on this here. He appears to come out against women having the right to vote in his speech. Let's watch.
We didn't have vacuum cleaners. We didn't have Clorox wet wipes. It took a lot of effort to maintain a home in the 16, 17, and 1800s. Women, in their proper mindset, in my view,
their proper mindset,
were so respectful and so honored by the responsibility God gave them of nurturing and developing and grooming children in the womb, because that is when life begins, that women weren't sitting around saying, oh my God, if I was an advertising executive, how much happier I would be. They weren't.
I never understood arguments like this because you're talking about women as if it's a total monolith. Obviously, there's
like, oh my God, how many times do we gotta explain it to you, idiots? There are women who want to work, and if they want to work and they meet like all the skill requirements whatsoever, they should be able to work. Likewise, there are women who do want to be TradCon waifus and all that, like Shu pretends to be.
Like Shu up ass.
And this also goes to idiots on the left, because there are a lot of people on the left who don't like women doing that willingly and all that. Like they think it's like subservient feminism and all that. It's not. It's women can choose to do what they want. And if they want to do the same stuff that the conservatives always wanted to do, and if it's their choice, then you gotta accept it. In the end, if women, whatever women want to do, they need to get support in doing that. Just like men, if wherever we do what we want, we should be accepted all that. But of course, you guys have a problem with men be stay-at-home dads, because you always have a problem with that.
Colossal differences when you go from woman to woman. They're all individuals, right? So, yeah, there's going to be some women who want to be some sort of executive. Who cares? Let them. But his thing is like, no, your proper role is in the kitchen. He almost literally says that. Let's keep listening.
Upset that they weren't the primary financial providers in their home. They had the greatest responsibility that God has given. Life. They were responsible for replenishing the earth and nurturing life.
You do know it's more of us men responsibility, since we start off as sperm. Like, come on, man. If anything, it's us men that are responsible, not the women. They're the incubators.
Exactly.
That's, if anything, that's a misandry. That's like misandry that they always dismiss us men for creating life.
In the womb, which is the most critical part of the development of children. What transpires in the womb?
If your dad dies before you're born, you don't exist. Like, us men are more important than women. Like, I've never figured, I don't understand why people don't see that.
And so they have recreated this history that, oh God, it was all just sexism, and we didn't have the right to vote until Susan B. Anthony and the women's suffrage movement. And I
Wait. Was it not sexism when women didn't have the right to vote? Look, you guys know me. I am certainly not the first to invoke, this is sexist or misogynistic or racist or transphobic or whatever. I think you need to come with a decent amount of evidence before you...
And that's why I tell people on the left to always do too. And by the way, Whitlock, you're getting into that territory, buddy. So if you're called a misogynist for it, I'm not going to be complaining. You brought it on yourself.
Make those claims.
Exactly.
Because it's very easy for centrists and right-wingers to just dismiss it and say, you lefties call everything racist or bigoted or xenophobic or whatever.
Yeah, and that's why I tell you on the left and all that to chill out with throwing out every ism.
So I'm always careful with my language.
Unless it's Gavin.
But when women did not have the right to vote,
negativist in the book.
it is your contention. Is it your contention that it's like, no, that wasn't sexist? It is literally like the definition. I don't know, like how else can you? I don't know how else you can look at that.
defend life before suffrage.
Whoa.
Because a vote.
Did you hear that? He said, I will defend life before suffrage. He's saying, I will defend life before women had the right to vote.
Okay, misogynist.
He's just saying it.
Yeah.
And I will defend life before suffrage. Because a vote used to represent the family. When we were a culture that really valued family and really understood the natural order that God intended, man serving God, woman following man who
You're a combination of
served.
Matt Walsh and Steve Shives. Yes, I went there.
Basically just said that women are supposed to follow men and all that.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, whoever the man votes for, the woman's supposed to automatically support and vote for him. It's not like women could have different ideas and all that.
Serves God,
Exactly.
man and woman developing and nurturing children. You only needed one vote per household.
Oh my god. That's literally one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. The idea that...
Guy, I already know Kyle's going to get into this because I saw this video already. The real reason they don't want women to vote is because they're going to overwhelmingly support progressives, and they don't like that. And since they can't just accept that their ideas are terrible, and they can't just change them to become liberal or try and convince women or people to vote for them, they have to try and rig it in their favor. Because Republicans are anti-democratic, because they know they can't win on this stuff, because they're losers.
Like,
Fascist,
look, the family is just
piece of
one
shit.
thing. So one vote per family. Okay, hold on now. Plenty of people live in a situation where their mom or their dad or one of the kids is a total fucking prick or an idiot or ignorant and doesn't follow what's happening.
Yeah.
You think everybody's in perfect harmony at all times with their family and like, yeah, we're all one in every single way, shape, and form? No, people have different opinions. There are plenty of families where this one's a Democrat.
Me and my parents voted for different people for president in 2020 for crying out loud. We all vote for 3 different people. Like what? We're supposed to vote. Who are we supposed to follow that? Oh, it's right. Our dad. Well, I mean, if we did our dad, we'd be writing in Bernie in. Which I would have no problem with.
And this one's a Republican, and this one's a centrist, and this one's a socialist, and this one's a fascist. Or like, I mean...
I wonder how your situation is then in your family. Do everyone vote differently?
Not really. My dad, my dad and mum both vote for the Greens. Mum's basically apolitical, and my dad he's like, I'm left wing. He's like centre left, and so, yeah,
My parents are usually just vote for a Democrat no matter what, pretty much. I'm more like vote for Green or someone like that. Except this time where we all vote for 3 different people.
He's given like some bullshit storybook ass notion of like, this is the way it worked.
Gee, under your household, how's it feel that we have to listen to our dads how we vote then? Happy you have to be a center leftist then?
Man serves God, woman serves man, who serves God? Like, what are you talking about? Is every house like a fucking church? Is every house?
What about non-Christians? What about atheists and all that? Oh, that's right. You don't think we should have rights? That's right. I forgot.
Like led by some holy high priest or something? What are you talking about? And even serving God, like, which God? What are you talking about? There's plenty of people who are not Christian in this country. Like, there's plenty of people who are not religious
them,
at all.
don't you know? Fuck them.
So, I mean, he's taking this, like, comical, right-wing fantasy world, and he's like, this is how it should be in reality. Well, I got news for you. Even when it was like this in reality, it wasn't like this. It's like that famous meme that goes around where it's like, you see a picture from, like, the 1950s. Granted, he wants to go back further than that. But, like, you see this picture from the 1950s. By the way, what were the race relations like back then?
Guess what, buddy? You'd be probably called the N-word and all that if we went back in the 50s and all that. And probably get the shit beaten out of you and lynched. So, do you really want to go back to those times? I would hope you would say no, but seeing what you think, I would not be surprised.
He doesn't want to do that, though, right? Don't bring back that. Maybe he does. I don't know. But you see this this meme, and it's like, it's the 1950s, and you see, like, a family that looks like they're happy and smiling, and it's a barbecue, and they're having fun, and the woman's wearing a very feminine dress, and the man is wearing a very buttoned-down, business-like attire, and the kid is a little cute kid drinking a Coke or whatever, and it says, it's like, by the grandpa, it says, I molested the kids. By the dad, it says, like, I'm secretly gay. By the mom, it says, I need to pop pills to get through the day. And by the kid, it says, like, I have polio. Like, this Leave It to Beaver ass world doesn't exist, bro. It doesn't exist. And even striving to it as some sort of ideal is absurd because it will never exist.
Nor is it the ideal situation for every single family, you know, for crying out loud. Because not every family is like that.
One vote per family. So then what are the, like, at what point can, let's say you have a male kid, at what point does the male kid get to step out of the shadow? Do they have to move out of the house?
I guess when my dad dies.
Is it 1.9 at age 21?
Because that's right. If these guys had their way, it's always us men get power. Remember, the women never do.
Yep, so I remember that.
So once my dad dies, I'm the man of the house, apparently.
Or 16, or 18, or 30, or like...
Hey, that means everyone's got to vote for progressives now. Yippee! Even though my mom already would. Even though my mom already would have done that.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
But look, let's not bury the lead. He's against women having the right to vote.
And yes, guys, that's all it boils down to. And I think how about the coverage about what I already talked about.
Crystal clear. He is against women having the right to vote. And look, I think these conservatives are smart enough to know why they make this argument. It's not necessarily just because they're sexist, although that is a big part of it. It's also because they know, oh, if that were the reality, Republicans will win every election. And that's what this guy cares about first.
Yeah, and that's what it all boils down to. They want to win. They don't want to change their ideas, even though they know it hurts them. Like, repealing Roe v. Wade. That's hurt Republicans ever since. They've lost every single, like, abortion referendum that's happened ever since. They did not win in the blowout that they were expecting in the midterms and all that. And that is going to massively hurt them next year and all that, which is why I tell people on the left, don't underestimate Biden all the time, as we covered months ago and all that. Like, they did stuff that are so bad, and they know deep down, even ones that are like true Kool-Aid drinkers, that they fucked up very bad. They went too far, and now they have to deal with it.
Foremost.
Exactly.
That's what he cares about first and foremost. And of course, he had to sprinkle in a whole bunch of anti-abortion stuff. Duh.
Of course.
I mean, it's Charlie Kirk's shitty festival thing.
Does she have any eggs left? Remember that? Oh my god, I'm still very angry. I'm still angry as hell from that episode.
Of course, you're gonna get stuff like that.
It should not be. It should
anyway.
be like.
Oh.
Worse than.
You have no idea how.
Misogynist. That'd be like. Woman murderer.
You have no idea how much of a full Karen my mom went when I told him that he said that. I mean, do you blame her?
Look, the final point I'll make is this. I don't know if you guys have felt the same way, but when I look at the political landscape these days, people are willing to make arguments that I thought were already rest in peace, dead and gone. Everybody acknowledges it's super fucking stupid, and we've moved on as a society.
Defending slavery,
Apparently
remember a few months ago?
Yeah.
Apparently, when you watch a government kill 10,000 children...
Wanting to remove no-fault divorce, remember that when Crowder had his thing?
Yep.
And now this?
Children, in a 2-month time span, some people go, yeah, bro, it's self-defense, bro. Self-defense, bro. You know, you watch 20,000 civilians get killed. You watch mosques and churches and houses and apartment buildings and marketplaces and schools and hospitals and clinics
wasn't
and
bad,
every single kind UN building.
Can't wait for people to say that.
Civilian infrastructure you can imagine. It gets bombed. There's a total siege where people are being starved to death. And some people go, bro.
Glorious Pootler is correct.
That's justice, bro.
Oh, that's right. I've heard him say
That's
that
the right
already.
thing to do. So things that you
Yes,
thought,
I
like,
remember that.
literally nobody could argue this. You have millions of people who are like, I'm going to argue that. And that's where we are with this clip, too, right? Like, yeah, women shouldn't vote. Didn't we settle this fucking question a really long time ago? And didn't we obviously get it right? No. He thinks no. So this is the era of, like, rethinking even the most basic liberal premises. Even the most basic things.
That's right, because it's liberal. We don't
Scary
like
times, man.
liberalism.
Scary times.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's the show.
So yeah, what do you have to say about that one? Him being a full Karen about women's rights. Which, hey, no surprise, we've seen that over the last few months.
Yep.
And
And just being like, you know what, let's actually say what we mean. I mean, we've fucked up our thing. Biden is so unlikable. The people will be like, they're evil and they want to turn us into a dictatorship where only white, straight, cis, conservative men can vote. We'll vote for him because Biden bad.
yeah, guys, if you want to convince women to vote for you, you gotta have the good ideas. And when you don't have the good ideas, you have two options. You either present in a way that convinces people to vote for you, which you failed at, or the next best thing you can do is just simply change your views and become liberal. Then you'll get people to vote for you. But see, they don't want to ever drop those views of theirs, so they have to try and rig it in their favor. As always.
Of course.
And I mean, and the funny thing too is, even though there are not as many conservative women, there are a lot of conservative women still, and you're gonna fuck them over too? Gee, are you gonna...
Yeah.
You know, this will, even if they get what they want, I'm sure they're still not gonna be happy themselves that their rights to vote and all that are taken away. Like, there are many conservative women that I know that aren't, like, this subservient to this stuff. Like, come on, you're gonna lose favor of them too. Just like you have on the abortion issue. Alright, so, now that we've had to deal with one Karen, what's the next Karen we have to deal with?
That'll be Trumpists. Banned from the Colorado and Maine ballots.
Now, of course, this video we found, and when I picked the topic, this is when Colorado did this, so this video is not going to talk about the Maine thing that just happened recently. But just recently, Colorado, and I'm guessing Maine did the same thing, removed Trump from all the ballots. So that means if you're in Colorado right now, you can't vote for him in the primary, nor the general election and all that. Now, first off, politically, what does have really any impact? In the general election, like if Trump won the nomination? No, because the Democrats are going to get Colorado no matter what. Like, this has no impact on Trump whatsoever. Come back to me when it's like Texas or somewhere, like a red state that he's banned from. Then we'll talk about actually impacting them. This has no impact whatsoever. And I don't know when Colorado's primary is, so it maybe won't affect him in the primary. I have no idea at the moment, but still, he's still like the overwhelming favorite at the moment to win in the primary. So even losing Colorado is probably not going to make a difference. So politically, it's not going to like impact them at all. But it still is the right thing. Like, Trump needs to be removed from everywhere, guys. He was a terrible president. He denies the elections. He's an authoritarian. He's an insurrectionist with January 6th. And do we need to bring up all the criminal stuff that he's going through all the way up into next year, most likely? Yeah. He needs to go. He needs to be removed. And this, and you're like, this will probably apply to all Republicans. And no, it doesn't apply to any of the others because they're not insurrectionists as far as we know right now. They haven't denied any elections yet. That they lost or whatever. They haven't tried to do January 6th or all that. So they're basically institutionalists and playing by the rules. So guess what? Even though we think they're just as bad as Trump, they are allowed to run because they're following the rules. Trump didn't. That's why he should be banned. And if anything, you should be actually thanking yourself that he's banned because guess what? If Trump is banned, and hypothetically, if like he's banned enough that he can't become the Republican nominee, this would be better for you guys. Like, if Nikki Haley, like, hypothetically, I know you're not going to like her, Nikki Haley right now in the polls has been catching up to Trump right now in terms of the polls. So she might be...
She's literally, on the average polls, about to overtake Ron DeSantis into second place.
Yeah, it's like she's, like, the new thing right now. Guys, like I've said before for months now, if it's, like, Trump and Biden, I think Biden is going to win. But if it's Haley, I think Biden can actually lose then. Because, guys, the reason why I think Biden would beat Trump, and more importantly, why I think, despite Biden's problems, Trump is worse, has worse problems, as we covered when we covered Cenk before, is that Biden was, although he's not been a good president, Trump was a failure. That's one strike against Trump.
Yep, he was.
He denied the election outcome. That's another strike against him. Strike 3 was January 6th. Strike 4 was all the indictments and stuff that he's been dealing with all right now. Like, sure, maybe Americans will forget about him being a bad president by the time 2024 comes around, because Americans are very stupid. That's possible. I don't think Democrats are gonna let them easily forget about like his denial of the elections in January 6th and all that, because that was like way too far in a very bad way to just ignore. But the criminal stuff that's going into next year, that can't be ignored whatsoever. You can't dismiss that or like wiggle your way out of it or forget about it. It's gonna be all over the place, and that's why I think Biden would win still if it's against Trump, because Trump has worse things going for him. Nikki Haley, however, and even Ron DeSantis to some extent, they don't have a lot of those problems. They weren't ever president, so they don't have that problem against them. Nikki Haley, at least, because she's been like vocally anti-Trump, does not deny elections. She did not do January 6th. She's going after Trump for January 6th. She's going after Trump like all this time. Like a big reason why I think Trump would lose is because he's not going to get the people to vote for him. Like, he's going to need a bunch of Democrats to vote for him, even though none of them would at the moment. He's going to need all the Republicans to vote for him, which he's not even going to get all of them at the moment. He's going to need a whole bunch of independents to vote for him. He's not going to get the people he needs to vote for him to help him win. Haley, however, has a chance. Yeah, Haley actually has a chance. So if you want Biden gone, you should dump Trump and support Haley or the other Republicans, because they actually have a chance to win. As we said even a year ago after the midterms, why DeSantis is worse, because he can actually potentially beat Trump, beat Biden, whereas Trump has all these problems and all that. So because here's the thing, guys, even if Trump doesn't win and it's not the Republican nominee, you're still going to get whatever you want from Haley, DeSantis, or whoever it was. They're going to do what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to have a better chance to win. So why not be smart, let Trump go, and support them instead? You'll get what you want, and you'll have a better chance to win against Biden, who I think he would lose if it's Nikki Haley. Because, like I've been saying for like a year or so now, my barometer is my aunt. She is a Republican, but she voted against Trump every single time because he was too disgusting for her. Haley DeSantis, she voted for DeSantis for crying out loud in 2018.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, these people would not probably discuss that much to vote for them. But if it's Trump, she will vote for Biden again, or whoever Democratic nominee is, and she doesn't even like them. So, like, you guys gotta understand that and all that. Now, of course, Trump's ban might not be long lasting, because SCOTUS might take a look into it. And I've seen, because we're about to watch Vosh's video on it, although we covered a lot of it. He thinks that it's almost guaranteed that they're gonna null and void it and let him be back on the ballot. Kyle, which I think is being more reasonable, thinks it might not necessarily be the case that they might say no, he's back on the ballot. They might say no, he can't be on the ballot, possibly, because this is something that I've pointed out for the last year or so, and Vosh and them don't ever point out, that a lot of the people, even the Trump judges that he put in, a lot of them are straight up institutionalists. They're not gonna deny election results. Remember, guys, he went to the Supreme Court about his election denial in 2020. They dismissed it. Remember, they dismissed. They dismissed the one thing that would change elections coming up, how electoral colleges votes can be reallocated and all that. They dismissed it. Every single thing that involves voting in the electoral college and all that, they've been dismissing. So it's possible that they could do this too. We don't know, and all that. So maybe this won't be valid whatsoever. Maybe he will be back on the ballot sometime soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's watch Vosh's video on it, because man, there's been really exciting to talk about. So now let's go get this up. Since every other video talking about this was way too long and all that.
We live in an era of historical.
Hello, Vosh. We meet again.
A lot of interesting stuff happening day by day. An unprecedented move has taken place in the state of Colorado. The state Supreme Court has ruled that on the grounds of the 14th Amendment, Donald Trump is disqualified from being on the ballot for the presidency, meaning that he will not appear on the Colorado ballot. A largely symbolic move, considering the fact that Colorado was not going to go red anyway, but still a monumental one. So we have two very different takes on this from two different news organizations, which also kind of like, I guess, split my thoughts on the matter. From CBS News, Colorado Supreme Court rules Trump is disqualified from presidency for January 6th riot.
Based.
And then, from NBC
Very
News,
based.
Colorado hands Trump a political gift by barring him from the ballot. Yeah.
That is an argument people have said on the right that, oh, Trump being barred from the ballot means it's going to make him stronger on that. No, I don't think so. There have been polls about this, guys. The majority of Americans think he should be banned from the ballot and all that.
Yep.
So, no, I don't think this is going to help him whatsoever.
So let's watch the video here real quick. I'll share my thoughts on this. There's a lot to get into here, I feel, but this is a very, very big deal.
Vivek Ramaswamy, or today, former President Trump's Republican rivals are reacting to the Colorado Supreme Court's decision to bar Trump from the primary ballot there. Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis all slammed the court's ruling. And even one of Trump's top critics, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, is speaking out against the decision.
I do not believe Donald Trump should be prevented from being president of the United States by any court. I think he should be prevented from being president of the United States by the voters of this country.
Joining us now, NBC's Garrett. Hey, Garrett, good morning. Do you think this could be...
What a hateable-looking man, I must say. You sure are smirking as the camera opens on you. Why are you doing that face?
having an impact one way or another on the GOP primary? I mean,
you look like a Sherlock villain.
Everything that has happened right now has only been to the benefit of the former president. But could this politically play a big part?
I think it could, Jose, in part because of the timing so close to the Iowa caucuses. I think there's a pretty widespread belief in Republican circles, both close to the former president and even from folks who are supporting his opponents, that this is the kind of thing that actually helps the former president because it, again, makes him look like a victim. He can play up his victim.
The majority of Americans don't think he's a victim, though, so I don't think this is going to help him, buddy.
Machine that is desperate to keep him off the ballot.
I think even Vosh might be covering that poll, too.
This, discussed already by Trump's allies, and I think you could hear the frustration from his opponents on the campaign trail, like Ron DeSantis, who was discussing this a little while ago. Here's what he said.
Why could we just say that Biden can't be on the ballot? Because
God, he looks like shit. I'm sorry. This guy gets picked on by Derek Guy all the time on Twitter, and it's so justified. Like every time this guy.
And to DeSantis, no, because Biden has not done any election denial. He has not done January 6th or anything insurrection. So no, he can be on the ballot, just like you're on the ballot because you didn't do the things Trump did. It's that simple.
Shows up. Do you have any idea how I almost long for the days where the upper class would promenade and walk around in clothing that cost 50% of their entire fortune, walking around like a big cobblestone pathway staring at ducks and laughing at poor people, because rich people today are making mockeries of their wealth. Stop pretending to be you could hire a stylist.
Let's focus on how he looks, Vosh. More on the topic.
Also capitalized on this. Vivek has only ever been since Donald Trump is not participating in the debates, let me be there in his stead guy. And he is virtue signaling over this by saying he's withdrawing from the Colorado GOP primary ballot. Again, purely a virtue signal.
I mean, you're hurting yourself, Vivek, for doing that if you did it. You should take this opportunity and all that.
This will go to the Democrats, Colorado. Colorado will go to the Democrats. It doesn't mean anything. But he's saying, until Donald Trump is reinstated, I will stay away. And I demand Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, and Nikki Haley do the same immediately. So he's instigating infighting for the purposes of, clout, which is fine by me. Do more infighting. It's fine by me. He's wearing the Elon Musk coat. Yeah, it's pretty close to it.
They have just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver that is a bastardization of the 14th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution.
I'll look at the reply in a sec.
Section 3 that was designed to bar Confederate members, people who switched to the Confederacy, from actually being able to serve. That's very different than what's at issue here, to say the least.
He's an insurrectionist, so cap.
Yes, exactly.
This is a hollowed-out husk of what the country was built
fuck
on.
off.
The basic principle that we, the people, select our leadership, not the unelected elite class in the back of palace halls. That's old world Europe, not the United States.
All right, bored of this guy now. Underneath this, you can see the Colorado Republican Party saying, You won't have to because we will withdraw from the primary as a party and convert to a pure caucus system if this is allowed to stand. So people are very rustled about this one. Now, here's the issue, okay? The case that was brought to court in Colorado, it wasn't just brought by partisan Democrats. My understanding is that the group that brought it is relatively independent. I could be wrong on that. I'll double check during this segment. But regardless, the main issue with it is that the Colorado Supreme Court ruling, they're all Republicans. Ah, well, there you go. You know, get your rhino energy brought to bear. The main issue, of course, is that the Colorado Supreme Court is correct. Donald Trump, in a fair system, would be ineligible for the presidency in every state. The only reason that other states haven't done this is because they're pussies and politically biased, and that's really it. So the grounds upon which the disbarment was ruled is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Not the first time we've gone over it on stream. I've said many times that this should apply to Donald Trump. I'm glad that a Supreme Court, even if it's just from Colorado, agreed with me on the matter. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress, or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States, or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress, or as an officer of the United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. So there are two...
and that's why Trump shouldn't be allowed. That's simple.
Exactly.
There are two factors to this. There are two elements to this. The first one is, has he engaged in insurrection or rebellion?
Yes.
And the second one
Yes,
is
exactly
he an
what he
officer?
did.
Because you might notice that this disbars a person from being an elector of president or vice president or hold any office, civil or military, if they have previously taken an oath as an officer of the United States,
which he did as
or
president,
as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution, so on and so forth. So those are the prerequisites. Now, does Donald Trump fit under that category?
Absolutely
Yes.
Well, the
does.
problem is that
Yes, of course
much
he
like the
does.
rest of the Constitution, this is really poorly written, because it would be pretty stupid if Section 3 of the 14th Amendment barred you from holding office if you were an insurrectionist unless you were a president. Like, oh, literally any state official, as well as anyone in Congress, as well as any officer, they're all barred. But the president of the United States gets a free pass? That seems rather silly to me. So there are two ways that this can be attacked on appeal, which this will go to the Supreme Court of the United States. One of them is Donald Trump an officer of the United States?
he was.
Yes, he obviously is. Yes, San Fran Beyond the Star, he is commander-in-chief, he is the president. It is ridiculous. It is a ludicrously bad faith reading of this to suggest that this does not apply to the president of the United States. The second question is, did he engage in insurrection? To
Yes.
which the answer is objectively yes.
Absolutely.
There's no arguing this. We have had the January 6th Commission. We have had mountains of evidence that are currently being deliberated on in court, indicating Donald Trump knew what he was doing and that this was a deliberate effort to subvert the electoral practices of the United States, to have the elector count sent back for a revote because the results did not match up with what Donald Trump wanted, which was a victory. So legally, every state in the union should disbar Donald Trump. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened because they're cucks. They're babies. They're cucks. They're silly, they're disgusting, they're vile, they're complicit. You know, I hate them.
I mean, Maryland being overwhelmingly Democratic, baby, we will do that. Hopefully.
Now, the Supreme Court is almost certainly going to overturn this on appeal, which means that this is, I mean, even if the Supreme Court didn't overturn it, this is still a virtue signal kind of act because Colorado was going to go blue anyway. Doubly so if the Supreme Court overturns it, which means that the only actual practical effect that this can have is to boost Donald Trump. Unfortunately, I think the NBC News article is correct. Now, the problem is, what I am implying by saying this is that the Supreme Court of Colorado should have gone against the correct constitutional ruling and not found Donald Trump to have been an insurrectionist who is disbarred from the presidency purely for optics. Like, is that an acceptable precedent that we should take? Like, oh, well, it would be bad optics for us to enforce the constitutional law against this insurrectionist. Yeah, an impartial judicial ruling would come away with the idea that Donald Trump should not be on the ballot. So,
and that's what's
I don't
important.
know. It seems like in this case, reality is bad optics, because I do not agree with the idea of the Colorado Supreme Court essentially lying and ruling incorrectly purely because of the optics consideration. It's, so I don't really know what to say about it, unfortunately. The problem is that the political environment that we're in right now is one in which it is optically detrimental to acknowledge how bad our opposition is, because the liberal establishment in this country has not gone full force against Donald Trump and his cronies. We have some pending legal cases, but much more could have been done. Much more could have been, shouted from the soapbox. And as a consequence of that, we've allowed Republicans to take a position where they can act indignant and outrage when they suffer the consequences of the behavior we all agree they engaged in. We gave Republicans the room to do this, this crying and hand wringing and screaming and bitching and so on. For doing something that they proudly did. They proudly engaged in. Yeah, Alec Gunter, they've done this. The Democrats have given Republicans room. I think it would have been much better if Democrats were loudly aggro this entire time. Be clear about it. Stop with this, oh, he's a threat to our democracy and the gents, blah, blah. You should be screaming this from the rooftops, The Republicans scream from the rooftops anytime a children's TV show has a non-binary character. That's the meteor that killed the dinosaurs to them. That's the Holocaust to them. Boo-hoo. They're always screaming. They're always shouting from the top of their lungs. Meanwhile, Democrats, when was the last time you heard Biden deliver an impassioned anything? I know the guy's 50 million years old, but there are plenty of other people in the Democratic Party who could be doing that for him. But the only real energy the Democrats seem to be exerting right now is keeping the progressive members of their constituency from trying to defend Palestinians from genocide. That's when the full force of the Democratic Party comes out. That's when they're really ready to go on out there and duke it out and exert some power. When they're censuring Rashida Tlaib or cracking down on dissidents within their own party to make sure that everyone falls in line in support for Israel, But when it comes to the Republicans, we get some half-hearted denunciations, we get some whinging, we get some admittedly pretty promising court cases, but what has come of that so far, What Democrats don't understand is how to exercise soft power, because they're institutionalists, and institutionalists are cuckolds who think that the only way you can make any change is by following the process, checking all of the boxes, dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, and putting forward a new rule, when in reality a significant amount of cultural power comes from being really loud about what matters. That's a huge part of it. He knows how to be loud. That's why he gets fed every morning. I never forget. Jumps up onto my bed and makes sure I remember. What I'm saying is that Biden is worse than my cat, which he is. Seriously, though, that is where a lot of cultural power comes from. Rules-wise, how much have Republicans gotten done in the past, 8 years? Honestly, not that much. They've been obstructionist to a lot of Biden's agenda. Donald Trump didn't get much done during his presidency. Even at a state level, the efforts by the Republican governors and legislatures have been constantly overturned by courts. So, how much have they actually gotten done? A lot of what they've done is culturally normalize their talking points by being loud and consistent. The Republican Party has a consistent message. They've been active. They've been loud. Roe? Well, Roe was from the Supreme Court, which isn't directly an apparatus of the Republican Party. I mean, obviously it is. I more mean how much have they gotten?
And the Republicans are facing the backlash for what they did too.
Done through the apparatuses that they have in power as legislators. How much of what they have done, how much of what Republicans have done has been a product of them changing the rules. A huge portion of what they've done, what their efforts have led to, has been just the product of them yelling, But Democrats don't yell because it's impolite, It's impolite.
And they don't care about the progressive stuff that needs to be done.
Uncivil. They don't believe in it. A lot of Democrats will.
kind of lose the they kind of get paid to lose at times, so...
Ironically say shit like, well, what do you expect Joe Biden to do? When Joe Biden is, half one foot in the grave, can't deliver an impassioned speech for his life. Has everyone forgotten how important it is to have a charismatic leader who rallies support? Like, wouldn't it be nice if we had anywhere near as much vocal advocacy for progressive interests as we do against it? Every Republican demagogue and politician goes on out there and tries to make a name for themselves by screaming about how children are being groomed because they learn about the existence of gay people offhandedly by a book that mentions them in like a biographical sense. Meanwhile, Democrats at a local level, Democrats have been a lot better, admittedly, especially in the Midwest. But at a federal level...
Because the Midwest Democrats are actually progressive and based.
Exactly.
Basically silent. Just dead silent. Because the federal Democrats, this is like New York Democrat tier shit, They're complacent, they're weak, they're completely institutionally, oriented.
Yeah, East Coast and West Coast Democrats in power are absolutely terrible. They're elitist pricks.
Yep, no interest in exerting cultural power. And as a consequence, now we have this. Everyone with half a brain knows that Donald Trump did an insurrection, attempted one, And we can't even say that through court rulings. We can't even acknowledge the natural consequence of that without being worried about the optical downsides. There shouldn't be any optical downsides to this because everything that was ruled by the Colorado Supreme Court should have been screamed by every Democrat at the federal level every day since January 6th. How are Republicans going to act indignant and outraged about this ruling when they've had to deal with 800 previous days of Democrats going, yeah, you're an insurrectionist, you don't belong in office, blah, blah. If they've been saying that consistently, then what are Republicans going to do? Act like this is out of nowhere? Because it's not.
They will act like it's out of nowhere.
You notice how no one is defending Trump as saying he should be on the ballot because he didn't do an insurrection? They're not denying the crime he did. Yeah, the optics concerns from the liberals is yeah, he did the crime, but, optics or whatever. And with conservatives, I haven't even seen conservatives conservatives aren't even putting any energy behind fighting the claim because they know that it would be bad optics for them to their voter base to be no, Donald Trump didn't attempt an insurrection, because at this point, a third of the Republican constituency would go, what do you mean he didn't? We fought. You're saying you're siding with the deep state. This is so flagrant. The Republicans aren't even pretending they're not doing the thing that they're clearly doing. They're getting indignant over Donald Trump facing consequences for a crime they don't even care to deny he did. I hate it. And it doesn't even matter whether or not the Supreme Court overturns this, which, by the way, when the Supreme Court does overturn this, that's another big optics win to the GOP, by the way, because then it's Colorado attempted to subvert democracy and the Republican-led Supreme Court restored it or whatever. So that's another win for them. Obviously, keeping Donald Trump from running for the presidency is a pro-democracy move. It is not pro-democracy to let anti-Democrats run, for the presidency. It's not. A democracy must defend itself. It's like if you're a pacifist society and all of a sudden, a bunch of fucking bloodthirsty lunatics start killing everyone. It's not anti-pacifism to defend yourself against them. That's not hypocrisy. It's why I always hate the idea. I really hate, it's always such a gotcha, you're fighting war for peace. You can fight a war for peace. What are you talking about? Do you think all wars are wars of aggression? Is self-defense waging war? What are you talking about? The social contract that allows us to protect ourselves via self-defense is a process for peace, Can you see the Republican court try to ditch Trump because they're a liability to their legitimacy? No. Trump is the only thing the GOP has. That's been pretty clear from the primaries. Listen, have you heard anything from the last two GOP primary debates? I haven't even covered them because I don't give a shit. It's very obviously Trump's party. They're no one else has even come close to stepping up to the plate to legitimize themselves.
Well, if you kick him out,
Haley's working on that.
Yeah, simple. You kick him out, and then by default, one of them have to take over. It's that simple.
Yep. It's a meaningful contender there. It's worthless. It's a waste of time. They're all just fighting over book deals at this point, or lesser offices. It's Trump's party. Trump is their only hope. They have to stand by Trump no matter what.
Vosh,
Nope.
no. If
Not with the
Trump's,
amount of baggage that Trump has.
if Trump is gone, the Republicans will do better because that's
that
actually
it
holding
would.
it bad.
Like they might not
I
do
get your
much
point.
better with Adolf death sentence, but with Nikki Haley coming into second, yeah, they would do a lot better.
But pacifism as an ideology explicitly condemns self-defense. Wrong analogy. No, I'm pretty sure that's not the entirety of pacifist ideology. Also, I don't think that's true. Maybe it's some kind of like extreme pacifism, but that's dumb as fuck. Like you're pacifist, so like someone just wants to murder you and take your shit, you just let. I think that's like a straw man of pacifism. I think. Pretty self-defeating. Or, if nothing else, even if they do believe that, that's retarded, because then their pacifist society can never take root, right? If you want pacifism to be, like, a broader social trend, if, like, letting the first murderer who knocks on your door instantly end your entire fucking soft revolution, it's pretty fucking dumb, you know? Why is the immediate assumption the Supreme Court will overturn the decision? They almost certainly will. If they do so in time, I'm pretty
Like I said, Vosh, I wouldn't be so sure about that as we've seen precedents on
sure
it.
the filing deadline is the 5th of January
Possibly,
in Colorado.
but
So
not,
they only have like
unlikely,
2
but
weeks
not
to do
impossible.
it. However, if the Supreme Court like willfully does not overturn it and lets the Colorado ruling stand, that would be incredibly funny. I don't even know what the political outcome from that would be. A bunch of conservatives like screaming at and sending death threats to the conservative, justices who, didn't. If the Supreme Court decides to take the case, the deadline will continue until SCOTUS makes a decision. Will it? I don't think that's necessarily the case. The Supreme Court in the past, like with the Gore-Bush election, they literally said, like, yeah, we're not going to rule on this, or, like, we're not going to take this ruling because that would mean, like, redrawing the maps, and that would take more time than we have. You know, I don't know. I mean, I guess that depends. That'd be, like, a case-by-case thing. They can do anything. I mean, they can do anything. They did that cynically? Yeah, I suppose. The Colorado court says it will continue if SCOTUS takes it. Okay. Do you think there's a case for banning the GOP? I don't think you should ban. I don't believe in banning a political party. I think that banning individual reps is fine though. Yeah, for sure.
Florida tried to do.
I don't think you can ban the whole GOP because I think it would be undemocratic to sort of like axe the party entirely. I suppose you would need to do like a case by case basis kind of deal. I don't know if that would necessarily solve the problem either. You would want to be like targeted is the thing. You want to be careful with stuff like that, not like super broad and sort of overreaching. What if the GOP becomes indistinguishable from the Nazi Party? Well, if a party itself becomes like an apparatus of war against democracy, then sure. I guess maybe you could make an argument for that now. I'm pretty sure that like the Texas GOP already has like the illegitimacy of Biden's victory in 2020 is part of their state like platform, you know? The Texas GOP literally as like a policy point says like that was an illegitimate election. So I don't know. Maybe. Actually, the more that I think about it, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's the GOP definitely is not just like a group of bad apples on an individual level or whatever. Maybe. The problem is ultimately that all of this is being done at a state level, and red states are not going to agree to destroy themselves. So, you know, it doesn't matter, Doombot. Gorsuch has never been consistent. Republican Supreme Court justices don't believe in anything. Constitutional originalism is just a way for them to say whatever they want at any given point in time. They don't actually believe in anything. I mean, that's what I'm doing, girl with a guitar. Because that's not up to the Colorado Supreme Court to decide. Constitutionally, states have a right to determine their own electoral processes, and they're given a lot of leeway in doing this. Again, conservative justices don't like they're court wizards. There's no actual consistency to their ruling. There's no point in going like, well, logically they should do this because who the f knows.
So yeah, what do you have to say about that? Trump getting removed from the Colorado and Maine ballot too, as we just found out recently.
Yeah, not surprising.
Support it. He brought it on himself, and he has no one to blame but himself. And all that.
Yep.
So, like I said, don't want to be removed from the ballot? Well, don't be an authoritarian.
Don't be an insurrectionist.
Don't be an insurrectionist, except when you lost and all that, and we'll be good. Not that hard to deal with.
Yep.
All right, so now, on to the next topic.
Flat Earth Republican woman is back.
Oh, yeah! Remember a few months months ago, guys, we covered this Karen who had a meltdown because there are globes everywhere and all that.
Yes.
Well, she's back for another round of being a Karen. Oh boy, are you ready to laugh at a Karen? Because I most certainly am. Here we go.
I said that it was globes everywhere. There's propaganda, but it's the truth. And you know how many people who don't believe in flat Earth, they believe that we're, in a solar system. They reach out to me. They're like, Candace, you know what? You're right. I have been looking in stores and there are globes everywhere. Like there are globe toys and there's globes in the decorations. And you said that on your show and people thought you were crazy, but it's true. Why are they pushing the globes? And I said, well, I think it's because of NASA wanting to spend billions of dollars a month, but they try to say that I'm crazy because I said that. And they still go on my social media and my comments and they say, are you seeing globes everywhere, Candace? Are you seeing globes? I'm like, yeah, I am.
You just listened to a rant from Republican lunatic Dr. Candace Taylor, who's responding to criticism she received after she essentially came out as a flat earther on her podcast earlier this year during an interview that she had with someone named Flat Earth Dave. Now, Candace Taylor has become my new favorite lolcow, so I would encourage you to watch my other videos of her if you haven't seen them, but for those of you who missed it, this is her breakout rant about her dumbass globe conspiracy theory.
Is it or not? I don't know 100%, but it's just, it doesn't make sense the other way. Now that you see it.
The people that defend the globe don't know anything about the globe, because if they knew a tenth of what Matt and I know about the globe, they would be flat earthers, because it's absolutely ridiculous.
Sure, buddy, sure.
If we were as stupid as you people, we'd be flat brainers too.
I turn on TV, there's globes in the background, there's globes on there right here. Like this would be a globe if I was a normal person. Like everywhere there's globes. You see them all the time. I mean, it's constant. My children will be like, Mama, globe, 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 globe. They're everywhere. And that's what they do to brainwash. And so for me, if it is not a conspiracy, if it is, real, why are you pushing so hard? Everywhere I go, every store, you buy a globe. There's globes everywhere, every movie, every TV show, news media. Why?
Now, we finally get an answer to that $1 million question. They're pushing globes because NASA. And since we spend billions of dollars per month funding NASA, that's why they're doing it, I guess. Now, the problem with this theory is that NASA's annual budget isn't even half of what it was during the Apollo program, and it only makes up around 0.4% to 1% of our total budget, because we've now just decided to outsource our space program to billionaires who build dick rockets.
And we need it, and we need to fund NASA massively again if we're gonna really explore space peoples. It's too early to let corporations and stuff take over right now.
So her explanation doesn't make sense on its face, which is why people are still continuing to make fun of her, myself included, and it's why she's still coping and seething. But after she went viral the first time, a lot of people pounced on her stupidity, including comedian Blair Erskine, and Candace Taylor saw the parody that she made about her, and she was not happy about this. So here's Blair's parody, followed by Candace Taylor's response.
I'm not a scientist because that is a made-up job. But I know that
a scientist is a made-up job. Okay?
Earth is flat, okay? Because if the Earth was round, why would maps be flat? They can never...
What do you mean by they're not flat? They're flat because it's easy to see the entire world if it's not round?
Yep.
Like, I don't even know
Remember, her brain is flat, so...
Mm-hmm. I don't even remember her saying that when I last saw this. That's new for me.
Answer that, okay? And people want to be like, well, if the Earth is flat, then what about night and day? I don't know.
Because the Earth rotates?
Yeah.
Like, come on, this is so simple.
Think about it. Maybe because the Earth is double-sided, and God flips us over when it's time for us to go to bed, and flips us back over.
No, that's momentum doing that. That's no, God's doing that. That's just momentum.
With my husband, like, use your brain, use your head for a minute. If the Earth was round like a globe, everything would be falling off of it. All the
that's an actual flat Earth argument.
No, like if you're in Antarctica, you don't fall off the Earth because gravity holds you in. Just like the Earth gravitational pull pulls things closer to it if they're close enough. Like, come on, that's like, if you jump, you come back down to the ground instantly. Why? Gravity. No matter where gravity applies, even if you're at the bottom of the world.
Oceans will be dripping down it like ice cream, okay? Unless the Earth is a DQ blizzard where nothing falls out. But even then, sometimes things do fall out, and they do have to give you your money back. So that doesn't really make sense to me. They're trying so hard to make us think the Earth is a globe. I see globes on TV, globes at my children's school. I saw a globe at Hobby Lobby, a place of worship. Hobby Lobby, there is a globe.
It's a craft store. It's not like a church. Their job is to make money and all that. The reason why you see globes everywhere is because there's a reason for them. Like sometimes there's decorative reasons. Like people like looking at globes, so they'll sell them at like a place like Hobby Lobby because people want to buy them. There are also scientific reasons or geographical reasons, like schools have, because to help people spell, this part of the world's North America. This is South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, and all that. Oh, America's here. UK's over here. Australia's down here. It helps explain things, especially to kids who might not understand the world yet. So there's a reason why globes are you're able to get globes at, like, you say they're everywhere. They're not everywhere, but like craft stores and stuff like that. They're there because there's a material need for them. It's not that hard to understand. You're a freaking conservative. You're supposed to be pro-capitalism. Then you should understand capitalism easily. Is the reason.
Pro-capitalism until it's pro-capitalism unless they don't agree with it.
I mean, if I were a normal person, there would be a globe behind me. But I have a rotary telephone that's not hooked up to anything, so Bill Gates can't track me.
I've never said the Earth was flat. I've never said that I was a flat earther. Never, ever, ever have I said that. I did not say that globes were fake. I never said that. What I said was that NASA taking billions of dollars every month of our taxpayer money.
They need more of it. How about that?
Something that we do not see any progression in.
What do you mean by progression?
The Earth is a globe, which we've always believed the Earth is a globe, and we believe that. Why do we see globes on all the TV shows, on all the movies, and all?
I just said why.
Why are there globes everywhere? Why?
I just said why.
It's propaganda for us to
idiot. That's why.
It's propaganda. It's propaganda.
Yeah.
It's material needs. Capitalism, dummy. There's both a decorative reason to have globes. There's a geographical or learning reason why to have globes. It's that simple.
Okay, with NASA spending billions of dollars of our taxpayer money.
Again, they should get more.
Whatever they want to fund.
And they should get more billions. How about that one? NASA should get a shit ton of money.
Yes.
How about that one?
That does not mean that I'm crazy. That does
You're
not mean
very
that
stupid,
I'm
though.
That does not mean that anything that a radical liberal psychologist,
a radical liberal,
did a parody on me said, because she did a parody and she said, "Oh, we can flip the Earth upside down and have day and night." I would never have thought to say something so dumb. That is completely idiotic. She said that.
Are you sure about that, though?
Not me. And people that say, "Oh, this is you." No. Look at my lips. She had on red.
I really don't want to look at you.
She
My
does not have
brain's
a full
hurting
red
thinking
lip, and
about
I told
you.
her that. The red was a nice touch, but you don't have the lips for it. She looks nothing like me, praise the Lord. And she writes skits for Saturday Night Live. She has a fake Southern accent. She's an Atlantean. She doesn't sound like me from South Georgia. And she's trying to. But it's not me, people. It's her. It's Blair. Her name's Blair. I don't even know her last name.
So don't you dare mock her conspiracy theory, okay? She's not a flat earther, contrary to popular belief. She just thinks that globes are part of a propaganda conspiracy created by NASA to brainwash us into believing that the Earth is a sphere. That's all, okay? Nothing flat earthy about that, right? Now, even though she's definitely not a flat earther, no question about that. I think she's being honest when she says she's not. You might have noticed in the first clip that we watched, which is the most recent one, that she brought back Flat Earth Dave. And you might be wondering, well, if she's not a flat earther, why does she keep platforming flat earthers on her podcast, which, by the way, is titled Guns, Jesus, and Babies, or Jesus, Guns, and Babies, I think, either way. But you might be wondering, like, why, if you're trying to get rid of this label, why would you keep bringing back Flat Earth Dave, of all people? And she actually addressed that in this episode.
So I have a show today. Y'all are going to be so impressed that I did this show. I did an interview again with this guy because I made the Rolling Stones twice. And then AJC multiple times. It went viral. You know, they've called me a flat earther. They've all this stuff. Didn't want me to get elected to the GOP because they said I was crazy. But I will interview whoever I want to. This is America. So welcome to David Wiles back to my show. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Candace. And I want to say the Earth is not flat. It is a topographical level plane with hills and valleys and mountains and trenches.
Sure,
but
buddy,
water
sure.
tells us that the Earth is level.
Gee, I just can't imagine why anyone would think she's a flat earther. Now, in case you were wondering, no, she didn't challenge his flat earth rhetoric. Shocking, I know. And it's because she is, wait for it, a motherfucking flat earther. She's a flat earther. You can say that you're not a flat earther, but if you keep doing flat earth things and saying flat earth things, I think that it's not uncharitable to put you in that camp. It's like the right-wing grifters who say, no, I'm actually a liberal, or I'm more of a centrist, when they say nothing but right-wing propaganda talking points, and they exclusively attack the left. Think Tim Pool, think Jimmy Dore. So, yeah, I don't think that it's unreasonable to say she's a flat earther. Because she's a flat earther. But ultimately, if you cut to the core, this is her main belief.
Anytime we get this conversation brought up, some people are passionate about it being flat. They're passionate about it being a globe. But then there's other people, I think, like me and other people, which I believe in creation, 100%. I believe in the firmament. I believe in creation. I believe what the word says. But we are like, I don't really care either way. I believe in Jesus.
I love how she's trying so hard to fence it so she appears more reasonable, but still ends up looking insane by expressing support for creationism, which means that she believes that the Earth is like 5,000 years old or 6,000 years old at most. I mean, there are layers here to the stupidity. Now, you might be wondering, Mike, there are literally millions of Republicans across the country with idiotic views. Why all the focus on Candace? And it's because she's not just any ordinary Republican. She is a GOP leader who is in a position of power and influence. Not only is she the chair of the Republican Party in Georgia's 1st congressional district, but she was a gubernatorial candidate in Georgia's 2022 election. Now, thankfully, she lost by more than 70 points and only got 3.4% of the vote. But despite that, she still refused to concede and claims that the election was stolen from her.
Oh, she's an election denier, too, that she lost her Republican primary.
And she's even gained the support of other prominent election deniers like Mike Lindell, who tried to bolster her claims. Case in point.
We have preliminary evidence that Candace Taylor, for every single vote that Kemp got, got their votes, and then Candace got 5% back. Now these are all through the
Can you go back to focus on selling pillows, buddy?
So I mean, there's a Republican civil war going on at the national and state levels, and at the state level in Georgia, people like Candace Taylor are trying to move up in the ranks to cleanse the party of rhinos. Like, there go.
Well, I mean, she did fail, Mike, so I don't think you have much to worry there.
Ryan Kemp. So her flat earth views might be fringe, but that could change if she is able to continue building her profile in Georgia. And given the state of American politics right now, I wouldn't be surprised if she one day was elected to Georgia's legislature or even Congress, because that's kind of the direction that our country is heading in, unfortunately. But until then, Candace Taylor is unquestionably my favorite lol cow this year, and I will continue to milk her for lulz so long as she keeps pumping out these bangers. Now, in conclusion, I'm going to leave you with a Candace Taylor music video that I made for absolutely no reason.
I didn't want to hear it. It was actually annoying, so we're going to wrap it up there. So yeah, what do you guys say about that? She's back! Flat-brained indeed. And all that.
Yep, definitely flat brain.
I really shouldn't have to explain this. The Earth isn't flat. It's not completely round as we said before. It's an
oblate spheroid.
Yeah, there we go. Oblate. it like widens out near the equator and all that. It has like a bulge in the equator and all that. And guys, you don't need to trust NASA. You don't need to look at pictures. Like in the future, when all of us can afford to go to like a space hotel, whatever, you don't even need to look at the Earth from out in space and see it's round. You can literally tell, as I said before, on Earth right now. If you live like on the coastline, like I do, go out to the beach. Look at boats, and then you'll see boats disappearing over the horizon. They're not disappearing because they're too far away. They're disappearing because the Earth is curving, so they're going down from where you're at. Like, it's that simple. Carl, oh my God. I'm sure you know Carl Sagan, don't you?
Yes, I do.
In his Cosmos series, he did one episode. He talked about one of the I think it was the Greek philosophers that made like obelisk in like Cairo and then somewhere else in Egypt, and at different times of the day, the shadow would be different spots in the same area, and that's how they concluded that the Earth was spherical. It's not that hard.
That was 2,500 years ago. The light, at one point, the light shines straight into this particular well in Saidi, and then at the same time measured the shadow another place, and used that to determine that the Earth was about 40,000 kilometers in circumference.
Yeah,
that's something the flat earthers don't acknowledge. Yeah, they think that the Earth is way smaller than it actually is.
Yeah, that's the funny thing.
The Earth is rotating at 1,600 kilometers an hour, but the Earth is also 40,000 kilometers in circumference.
Yeah, and that's the thing, guys.
And so, it takes 24 hours for it to rotate that far.
Not only the freaking Greek philosopher thousands of years ago to conclude that the Earth was round, they actually conclude how big the Earth was, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Very close.
That's amazing how they were able to do it back then. Like, unbelievable. But that's why you have to be willing to trust scientists and smart people that know what they're talking about instead of being a Karen about it. Oh boy. Exactly. So that was funny. Unfortunately, the next three topics, if I'm correct, I'm not going to be laughing about. So what's next?
It's going to be Cyberclock's 2023 year in climate change.
Now, we didn't see him in his video. Remember the video we covered about heat pumps? It wasn't him in that video, but that was his channel and his videos talking about it. So he's done this before, because this is an awesome, like British YouTuber that talks about climate change and all that. And he's like very well, like, how do I describe it? Like, he's like, well, more like nuanced on it. Like, he's not like a doomer or climate, like, I'm not climate denier, like a doomer, if you get what I'm saying. He's like more like a scientist, like potholer, there we go. Like, he's in that regard and all that. He did a video last year talking about how 2022 was for climate change and the progress and the bad things that happened about it. Well, he did another video on it. So now, let's cover and see how climate change was in 2023 and the progress to try and combat it.
Thanks to GiveWell for sponsoring part of this video. 2023 may have been the most significant year to date in the history of the climate crisis. We saw huge news in the physical climate system, on land, in the atmosphere, and particularly in the oceans and cryological systems. But we also saw huge news in the human system, both in the impacts of a change in climate on humans, but also humans' efforts to curtail further changes to the climate system. In this video, let's talk about the biggest news stories from both worlds. Though I'd like to point out that if you'd like to get this kind of news summary every month, rather than waiting till the end of the year, then you should check out my free newsletter. I summarize the latest news in climate that month, as well as what I've been up to. Free to sign up, link will be down in the description. Let's start with the biggest news story of the year, which was that 2023 was the warmest year on record, and not
only was it the warmest year on record, it was by a landslide.
The Earth has ever been while modern humans have been around. The temperature anomaly this year is likely to be around 1.4 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. Of course, we can't say for sure just yet because the year hasn't finished, but it seems all but certain that it's going to be a significant increase from last year's temperature anomaly of about 1.2 degrees Celsius.
So 1.26 degrees warmer than it was last year, which that wasn't even the record. It's
remember that 1.5 degrees?
Yes, from the Paris Climate Demon. Like right on the.
We've hit it for the first time.
Yeah, we're like right on it.
At least once hit 1.5 degrees.
Yeah, like guys, the previous warmest year was 2016, which was 1.35 if the math on here is correct. No, 1.33, and this is 1.46. So this pretty much shatters 2016 as the warmest year on record and all that.
Yeah. Yep.
Above pre-industrial. Some months saw extraordinary increases in temperature, with September's temperature increase described by the excellent Dr. Zeke Housefather as absolutely gobsmackingly bananas. North America, South America, and Europe all saw notable heat waves, and July this year was made significantly hotter by climate change for 4 out of 5 humans on Earth. Part of the huge temperature increase this year can be attributed to the Pacific Ocean flipping from
El Niños we covered some time ago.
State.
That is going to be a big reason why, guys. That is a big that's a big reason. And it's we've noticed this too, the trend when it came to like the world's temperatures, like they go up and then they go down, up and down and up and down and up and down as they still keep going up. So, like in a few years from now, when El Nino goes away, temperatures might dip again. But how much will they dip by is the question. Like, are they going to go back down to 1.2, or are they going to go like, 1.3 or 1.4, whatever, before they go over 1.5, whatever next time?
What that means, you can check out my previous video, but this is directly attributable to us humans and our emissions of greenhouse gases. There is natural variability in the climate system, but it's on top of a huge warming signal from our activities. 2023 was the strongest proof of that yet. But that 1.4 degrees Celsius temperature anomaly refers to the global average surface temperature. And arguably a bigger news story this year was the incredible increase in ocean heat specifically. Ocean heat content has increased significantly since humans started burning.
And for all of you who don't know, oceans absorb like 90% or whatever of the warming in the world. So they're going to get much more of the warming. Just like how North and South Poles absorb more heat than the rest of the world.
Fossil fuels in the Industrial Revolution. It's actually been estimated that up to 90% of the excess heat trapped in the Earth's system has been trapped in the oceans. And this year, all kinds of ocean temperature records were broken. The Atlantic was exceptionally hot. The Mediterranean was hot. The Pacific was hot. The Antarctic was perhaps the highest profile headline of them all, with huge decreases in sea ice coverage going down to historic lows due to increasing ocean temperatures off the continent. This led to possibly the saddest climate news story of the year, in which entire colonies of emperor penguins lost every single chick this season because the sea ice underneath them melted before the chicks developed waterproof feathers. They all drowned.
And this helps lead to potential extinction for various species in Antarctica and the Arctic. And I'm gonna emperor penguins. I'm gonna see what.
Don't forget about that where we go down, this climate change can potentially take like almost all most complex life on Earth with us.
Yeah, but I'm looking up the conservation status for emperor penguins at the moment. They're near threatened, which is not good, but it's not like the worst thing. I thought they were going to be more like vulnerable or endangered, but thankfully they're not yet.
These colonies will almost certainly go extinct. This is what we're doing to the planet. But while the connection between global emissions of greenhouse gases and increasing in global sea surface temperature is undeniable at this point, it's also important to state that there were other factors that led to increases in ocean temperature this year specifically. Changes in shipping over the North Atlantic, reducing sulfate emissions, led to the water there being warmer than usual, as did changes in atmospheric circulation, which reduced the amount of airborne dust over the ocean, which would normally reflect sunlight away, and there's also El Nino. But even with those effects, the fact remains that we had ocean heat waves basically everywhere this year, often concurrently, which is worrying. Quite how worrying, we don't know. We'll hopefully find out next year with further analysis. Though I do want to say now that some people have been posting online, this is the beginning of the end, that the headlines from the atmosphere and from the ocean this past year indicate the climate has passed a tipping point, and we are on the fast track to extinction in the next couple of years. And this is not a position that's supported by the science, unless you believe James Hansen's paper from this year, which most climate scientists don't. Headlines this year made for grim reading, but in my professional opinion, and in the opinion of every scientist I spoke to this year, the system is in a bad way. The climate is in a bad shape in a way that we predicted. It's not in a bad way in a shape that indicates things are completely broken. That's an assessment, I'd like to point out, that was echoed by a meta-analysis of climate scientists by The Guardian. The consensus opinion of those scientists being 2023 was in line with predictions. So, maybe take our warnings about the future a bit more seriously now? Because how did climate change affect humans this year? It wasn't great. I've already mentioned the heat waves and just how many people were affected by extreme temperatures this year, but there were other impacts too. Notably, there was a very active wildfire season in Europe this year. In Libya this September, over 4,000 lives were lost after Storm Daniel brought severe rainfall that led to catastrophic flooding. Storm Daniel formed over the Mediterranean, which was, you'll recall, anomalously warm this year, and researchers estimated that the flooding in Libya was made 50 times more likely and up to 50% more intense by climate change. Of course,
and it killed, according to the thing it posted, it killed over 4,300 people. Jeez.
It should be noted that this particular disaster was also a result of human failings. In particular, 2 under-maintained dams were overwhelmed by the rainfall.
And I'm not surprised it is Libya. They're still dealing with the impacts of the Civil War that they're still dealing with too.
Yeah. But this is the pattern of things to come. Human systems are often very fragile and carefully tuned to specific parameters. And if you push them just a little bit beyond those parameters, slightly more rainfall, slightly higher temperatures, they will break. The disaster we saw in Libya this year of human systems pushed just a little bit too far will be repeated time and time again this century. But we can still limit how often it's repeated through adaptation measures and, of course, bringing down emissions.
And also helping these places have better infrastructure to handle all this stuff and maintain them. Because I'm sure Libya's dams were not only probably terribly maintained because of the Civil War, but probably were not constructed very well.
Humanity wasn't just affected by climate change through large events like heat waves and floods and wildfires. This year, scientists reported that invasive species, driven to migration through climate change, among other factors, were costing the global economy $400 billion a year.
You hear that, guys? Climate change is causing $432 billion of damages a year. Like you guys always tell us, combating climate change costs too much and all that, blah, blah, blah. Does that sound like too much to you?
I mean, the alternative is extinction.
Like that cost is going to get worse and worse as time goes on.
Survive in the deserts of Antarctica or Greenland.
Like, that cost right now is already unsustainable. That's going to go higher and higher and higher and higher as the years go on. We can't afford that. That's why we must combat climate change no matter how much it costs.
$3.8 trillion of crops and livestock were lost in the past 30 years due to disasters.
$4 trillion worth of crops in the last 30 years were lost because of climate change. Trillions of dollars. Like, that's a lot of money and a lot of food that could have fed people and all that. That's why there's no cost that's too
which
great.
Were exacerbated by climate change, and researchers also reported that human health was being increasingly affected by the climate crisis, and that by not phasing out the use of fossil fuels, an estimated 5 million excess lives were lost every year due to air pollution.
Yeah, air pollution, guys, you hear every year. Air pollution is killing 5 million people a year. And this is something like the anti-nuclear people never point out because nuclear power is deadly and dangerous and all that, but they never point out that millions of people die because of fossil fuels and all that because they don't see it and all that.
And speaking of not phasing out fossil fuels, that brings us on to COP28. Hit it! In a climate conference hosted in a petrostate, chaired by the head of a state oil company, spurned by national leaders but attended by lots of fossil fuel lobbyists, a final text was agreed with the perfect outcome for fossil fuel producers. With some progress on the loss and damage fund, agriculture, heating and rollout of renewables, the real headline was the first use of language about the transition away from fossil fuels. Of course, the phase out of fossil fuels language was abandoned and the use of unabated coal power was kept in, ensuring that despite warnings we are rapidly running out of time to decarbonize the global economy, another year passed without the necessary ambition to do so. In fact, the historic agreement further locked the world into continuing to burn fossil fuels, just now using carbon capture and storage alongside them. A joke of a solution to the climate crisis. But don't worry, it won't disturb the business of the UAE or all those lobbyists. Yeah, in case you can't tell, I have a very negative opinion about the outcome of COP28. I Did a whole video about this last week. Go watch that. You could argue, I think, that this was the year that carbon capture and storage, or CCS, really moved to center stage. And with the historic final text of COP28 setting precedent, I worry that it's going to be a key part of COPs going forward, and that's only going to prolong the use of fossil fuels. For more information on the subject, I can highly recommend Climate Adam's recent video. There'll be a link on the screen and in the description. Now, at this point, you may be feeling a little despondent, and I can understand why. So the rest of this video is going to be about progress. And there's a lot to talk about.
In the world of science this year, we got a better understanding of key parts of the climate system, with a notable new paper assessing global tipping points, the big takeaway being we might hit them sooner than we previously thought, a new analysis of the stability of the Gulf Stream, which warned it might collapse in the next few decades and was pretty roundly criticised for its methods. We don't think that's going to happen. And a new analysis of how the circulation in the ocean near Antarctica is being disrupted by increasing meltwater, which better constrains our estimates of when the West Antarctic ice sheet will collapse, as we now think will happen.
Okay, that all came out less positive than it was in my head. If you'd like to stay up to date, by the way, with the latest scientific papers in climate change, I can recommend the Skeptical Science Weekly Roundup newsletter. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. Okay, progress. A lot of people don't seem to realise that while we are not taking sufficient action to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the world is making pretty solid progress in turning the ship around.
Take renewables. In the past 3 years, humans added more solar power capacity than in every year up to 2020 put together. And installations in the next 3 years will nearly double. The International Energy Agency, which is normally quite conservative, now describes the shift towards renewables as, quote, unstoppable, and that based on current...
Well, as I was saying, like, no matter what, we're gonna get to zero emissions. It's just, will it be fast enough? That's the problem.
Not even accounting for increasing ambition going forwards, solar will generate nearly half the world's electricity by 2030.
Half? Wait, what'd it say? Wait, let me replay.
Solar will generate nearly half the world's electricity by 2030.
So, according to this, by 2030, which is almost 6 years from now, 50% of electricity will be by solar, which is huge if it's true. That's huge if it's true. 50% of the world.
My home state has had multiple times where all our power's been derived from solar.
And there are countries right now, for like the last 10 years, as David Packman used to cover, that are 100% renewal, for crying out loud.
Current policies are working. In America, the Inflation Reduction Act is set to significantly reduce emissions. In the EU, use of fossil fuels to generate electricity dropped by 17% in the first half of this year.
That's huge, because the EU is a big contributor to fossil emissions, guys. So that's pretty big. That's gone down by that much in half a year.
Lows. And China's emissions...
And that's, of course, with the Russo-Ukraine war going on, because that was a big fear, because if since they're no longer getting their stuff from Russia, they're probably going to dump a whole bunch of... do like a whole bunch of coal plants or stuff like that to compensate for it. But thankfully, so far, it seems to be finally going down. And looks like, according to this thing, before he talks about that, China is starting to lower their emissions finally.
Set to peak
this
year.
Their emissions had peaked.
And that's good.
And that's like very just going just very slow.
And guys, that is undeniably good because China is the biggest emitter of CO2 in the world. Now, hopefully, he'll bring up America, because I don't remember if he does or not.
Forwards, largely due to the colossal rollout of solar power. Some analysis indicates that we may have already hit peak fossil fuel use for generating electricity, and that peak fossil fuel use, full stop, will occur before the end of the decade. In fact, some analysis indicates that we may peak global emissions as soon as this year, which...
That's huge, guys, if this is true, that this is the highest we're going to emit CO2, and afterwards it's going to go down. That's huge. Any amount of lowering is good by default, and it must go down. Because, and here's the thing, guys, because he brought up carbon capture too. Even if we stopped emitting CO2, the CO2 that's in the atmosphere that causes climate change is still going to be there for possibly up to hundreds of years, thousands of years, or even millions of years. We got to get it out too. We have to get out of the atmosphere. That's why we need to absorb it with carbon capture too.
Which I personally find quite difficult to believe. 2023 showed us that we are heading in the right direction. Progress is accelerating. Policy is working. It's still just not working fast enough to avoid levels of warming that the science tells us could be dangerous. And while decarbonisation of electricity generation is going well, decarbonisation of total energy use, including heating, transport, industry, and other sectors, is slow. Electrification...
Yeah, according to this chart, by 2022... Yeah, it looks like the world's primary energy consumption... looks like about almost 20% is still only renewables. Like over 80% still fossil fuels.
Okay.
Like if only you could see the thing right now, but it is going in the right direction, but it's still just going too slow.
And low-carbon electricity will help here, but we still have a mountain to climb. 2023 was a year in which we reaped what we sowed. Policy sown in the past decade started to really show its effect, and the world took not insignificant steps towards a low-carbon future. But we also reaped the effects of decades and decades of colossal use of fossil fuels. Temperature records being broken, ocean heat waves, tragic loss of life. This year, the climate crisis became more obvious than ever before. This is the decade in which we must continue to sow effective policy. The phase out of fossil fuels, the decarbonisation of not just electricity, but all energy use. Otherwise, we will continue to reap suffering, something that is now unfortunately inevitable. But we can still limit the amount of hurt that we experience this century and in the future. I'm going to finish this video with a few predictions for 2024, but before I do that, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Alongside all the news in climate, this year has been the most challenging year of my life. Between the sudden loss of my dad to cancer and the birth of my daughter, I have been challenged in ways that I simply have never been challenged before. And I wouldn't be here making videos if it wasn't for the support of the people around me. My friends, my family, definitely my wife. But that also includes the community of people that watch my videos. If it wasn't for your support, sharing my videos, directly supporting me on Patreon, I wouldn't be doing this job anymore. I wouldn't be making this video right now. So I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for getting me through 2023. But while I may have had a pretty rough year, there are others out there who are truly in need of help. And this is a time of year where you may wish to consider supporting them and donating to charity. Doing so is an incredibly personal act, both choosing a cause and a specific charity. But if you would like information on how to maximize how effective your donation can be, then you will want to check out GiveWell, who have kindly sponsored this part of the video.
GiveWell has spent the past 15 years researching charitable organizations, helping donors make informed decisions about high-impact giving through their entirely free website. GiveWell has 39 staff researchers who review independent evidence on how effective each charity's work is and make recommendations for donations to specific charities.
Over 100,000 donors have used GiveWell to give over $1 billion, yes, with a B, dollars. And evidence indicates that those donations have improved millions of lives and saved over 150,000 lives. If you know anything about this channel, you'll know that I think high-quality data and independent research should be at the heart of decision-making. And so recommending you to use GiveWell is incredibly easy. And only made easier by the fact that if you haven't donated to GiveWell before and choose to support one of their recommended charities before the end of the year, they will match your donation up to $100. To double the effectiveness of your donation, head to givewell.org, go to YouTube, and then enter the code SimonClark at checkout. Let them know that you heard about them from me in order to get your donation matched. Again, that's givewell.org to donate or to find out more. With thanks to GiveWell for doing fantastic, important work and for supporting this channel. Okay, predictions for next year. Firstly, while 2023 is the warmest year on record, I think 2024 will take that title. Typically, El Nino has the largest effect on global average temperatures just after it's finished, so I wouldn't be surprised if next year was warmer than this year, though probably still less than 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial.
I don't know about that. That's like it's at 1.46 this year. That's a very small gap between that and 1.5. I think it's more like it's gonna be over 1.5. What about you?
About 1.5 to 1.6, from what I've seen. Like several months already, we're at between 1.5 and 1.7.
Probably see the global average.
I think by the end of the year, we're going to be about 1.6.
To decrease temporarily.
1.5,
Secondly,
1.6.
COP29 will be in Azerbaijan next year. And if you don't know, Azerbaijan is another petrostate. It's actually one of the places where the oil industry kind of historically began. My prediction is that carbon capture and storage is going to be center stage in the negotiations. And in particular, the word unabated is going to be applied not just to coal, but to fossil fuels in general. And that's going to lock CCS into the discussion at COP29 and in its final text. And I don't think that's a good thing.
I mean, carbon capture still is a good thing that needs to be done.
Third, keep an eye on the waters around Australia this coming spring, if you're in the northern hemisphere. Autumn if you're in the southern hemisphere. It's been forecast that the waters of the Tasman Sea could be exceptionally hot this coming spring. And depending on how wide that temperature anomaly spreads, we could be looking at a colossal coral bleaching event. Fourth, staying in the ocean.
And of course, since isn't it summer for you right now?
Yep.
So how's the weather been like down there in that regard?
It's been more like spring than summer.
So it's been cooler than expected, huh?
At the moment, yeah, but we've all in southern Australia, yes. Northern Australia is it's been literally days either storms or heat, extreme heat. No in between.
That sounds a lot like
and similarly with Perth, literally it's just been South Australian, Victoria and Tasmania have avoided, actually really it's just South Australia that's avoided the worst of the heat at this, both heat and, no, you can't say that, because we've been getting everywhere's been getting a lot of storms. More than anything else.
Reminds me how the beginning of the year, like I said before, like our last February, it was very warm. Like we had a day was like 80 degrees in the middle of February, but then from like March all the way to like early part of June, it was below temperatures for most of the year. We were getting like into 40 still at night, like in May for crying out loud, which is unusual.
Next year, I think we'll see a lot of analysis of all the ocean heat waves that took place this
year. So like you said so far, this spring and summer has been cooler than for you on average?
Well, spring's been very warm because we had our first 40-degree day, literally while it was technically still in winter.
Yeah, because unfortunately, so far this December, it's been pretty warm or above average so far again.
Yeah, and my prediction is we'll see a bunch of contradictory statements. I don't think we'll conclusively get to the bottom of what happened with all our concurrent heat waves next year. Though, if those heat waves continue into next year, maybe the more pessimistic end of the analysis will be correct. And continuing that point, my final prediction is that in 2024 we will see a deepening of the culture war over climate. Here in the UK, we've seen a real sharpening of the battle lines around the climate crisis, with some newspapers spreading some quite spectacular misinformation. I think this is going to get worse before it gets better, and further, I think there's going to be a real rise in the climate doomer movement, which is going to somewhat replace the role as the anchor to progress that's been so far served by climate skeptics. I should probably make a video about that. But with that, the year is at an end, and so too.
And I would say here's the video about to end up. Like, guys, like don't be like too like stupid doomer, if you get what I'm saying. Like, yes, the effects of climate change are very bad. And honestly, I think like even if we did like the most radical solution right now and like stop using fossil fuels like instantly, like right now, like no one can use like cars, electricity is no longer being produced or whatever is using CO2 and all that. Even if we stopped all that like that, we still would probably be dealing with, we would still be dealing with the effects of climate change because it's not going to be instant. It's going to take decades if centuries unless we do stuff. Like I said, even if we stop emitting CO2, all the CO2 that's we've emitted is still going to be in the atmosphere for possibly up to millions of years until we get rid of it. So we're going to be dealing with it no matter what we do afterwards. But despite all that, even if we don't stop the climate change or the worst aspects of it, we still have to do something no matter what. We have to still combat climate change no matter if we fail or not. It has to be done. So don't be like a hardcore doomer that says don't even bother doing anything, because that is absolutely stupid.
Do as much as we can to minimize so that life can recover more quickly.
Like, don't become like a stupid doomer that does nothing, because that's what the climate deniers and the fossil fuel companies, that's what they want you to do. They want you to be such a doomer that you do absolutely nothing about it. So, yeah, it would be nice if we did a video on that. That would be really cool. So, yeah, what do you have to say about that? Did you agree with him, or did you think he was too pessimistic or optimistic, or what?
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, he's...
I honestly give a 50... I really give, like, humans specifically, I'd say, but really only about a 50-50 chance of avoiding extinction.
And that's why we need to give NASA a shit ton of money so we can help explore the space, like help set maybe like colonies on the moon and maybe in the future on Mars. That way, if Earth gets like really bad, we could try and escape and all that. I mean, we're gonna have to do that eventually because in a billion years, the sun's gonna get 10% brighter and burn off all the oceans on the Earth, so there'll be no way to support life anymore. And of course, several billion years down the road, when the sun becomes a red giant, it could possibly destroy Earth. So we're going to have to leave eventually no matter what, because Earth's not going to be able to support life whatsoever. So we're going to have to do that, especially sooner if climate change makes it hard and all that. So we need to do that. No excuses on that. So yeah, it's nice too to see someone who's very smart on climate change talk about this stuff. Very nice to see too. We should watch him more too, because he's very, very good on this. All right, so I think it's enough of that. So next, on to the next topic.
Okay, final topic. So what the fuck is going on with Joe Cat bullied off of YouTube?
This, Vosh's cover it and Dylan Burns cover it, which we're going to be watching his video, as, oh my god, this is really infuriating. So, I didn't even know who this Joe Cat person was until this happened. Did you know who he was?
No.
He's a YouTube...
I still don't know who he is.
I guess you know. I guess you know literally nothing about what happened to him.
I read bits of it. I read certain bits, and I'm like, wait, what?
So for all of you who don't know, Joe Cat is a YouTuber and a Twitch streamer and all that, and he got a lot of shit recently for a video he did 2 years ago where he sang a song about how much he likes girls and all that, and it was like very progressive sound, like body on positivity and all that. Like when I saw, I was like, this is nothing. It's nothing to make a big deal about. But oh no, he got shit from not only conservatives who hate him because he supports trans rights and all that, but he got shit from idiots on the left because he was objectifying women and all that, all the other stupid stuff. Yes, he's objectifying women because he says he likes women of all types in a video from 2 years ago. Yes.
What the actual fuck?
And he's gotten death threats. His family's gotten death threats. People have sent like packages to his house and all that. And it got so much BS that he left online and all that. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Absolutely bullshit. Absolutely disgusting. And we're going to go watch Dylan Burns' video as he's going to actually cover the video in question. It's literally just... It's like a 30-second like animated short, and it's so inoffensive, but this triggered so many people somehow. I have no idea how.
Girls. Apparently they get you in a lot of trouble these days. So I don't know if you guys know who Joe Cat is. Joe Cat is an animator, but is also a streamer, and they do a bunch of content on the internet that I'm going to be very honest with you, I do not watch. Their content is not my content, okay? I like a good cat boy and everything, but this ain't my cat boy, okay? This is a stray on the street. They have not been domesticated in my household. Point is, though, Joe Cat is in trouble. They've been canceled. They're in big trouble.
The Chal has donated $10. Going into the girls' controversy is just a dodge to avoid the story of what you did to Mappy.
Yeah, I didn't do anything to them in Kosovo. Anyway, point is, Joe Cat is in trouble. They're canceled. They're big canceled. To the point where Joe Cat has put out a retirement letter. Let me read you this caption. If this is what it takes to be a content creator online, I don't think I'm cut out for it. Read joecat.net. TLDR, I'm going to finish up my current ongoing projects, and then I'm going to be taking an indefinite break from making content. Let's read a little bit of this before I describe where this came from, because I want you guys to keep this image in your mind when you see the video that produced this, that caused this. My name is Joe, and I've been making videos on YouTube for 5 years. I have a combined total of about 200 videos and hundreds of hours of content. On October 6, 2020, I did a live stream of the early access release of Baldur's Gate 3. And during character creation, I did a bit where I briefly sing a gender-bent parody of Lizzo's Boys. It seemed to go over well with my audience and all my friends. I typically do these kinds of bits for my live stream sometimes. I was also partly inspired by the source of where I first heard Lizzo's song, Hakeem Animation's video. Running the idea by my friends, who are all very encouraging and supportive of me, I decided it could be a fun project to animate the brief stream moment for my YouTube audience who may miss or not be interested in my live streams. And so on April 2nd of the following year, I finished and uploaded my I Like Girls video. And it got a universally positive response from my audience, my peers, and my partner. Now, before we read the rest of this about how times have turned against him, I have to play the video. So, just be warned, he likes girls.
Alright guys, here it is. The So Offensive videos. I hope you're ready for this one.
We're gonna watch this video now. Remember, this has caused him to take an indefinite break from content creation, the negative response this 35-second clip got. So just realize that for a second. Somebody was going about their life, producing content, creating art for the 80 to 90 years are on this planet before they die, taking their days, using them one by one to try to create with whatever time we have here to leave a lasting impression on this marble floating through space. And these 35-second clip right here set him off that course. Let's watch.
Sad that there's no muscly girls in here. Well, I mean, yeah, but, sure, I like to joke around and talk about how, I'm strong women all the time, but that's not the only girls I like. I like big girls, pretty kitty girls, really witty girls, singing ditty girls. I like the leggy girls with the nice thighs. I like a good chest, no matter what size. I like the belly folds, I like the six-packs, really tall queens, and the short stacks. From the mild girls to the wild girls. You got style girls, make them round girls. Yeah, I just really like girls.
And that is it, guys. That was it.
That's it.
So we had to say about that, your first time seeing, apparently.
Okay.
Do you see the problems, apparently, to Karens?
Yep.
That's it. He likes
so
girls.
offensive, don't you know?
It's a video where he shows a bunch of different types of women and characters from different types of media with a bunch of different body types and types of women, tall women, short women, heavy-set women, skinny women. And he's like, oh, wow, look at all these different types of women. I'm attracted to all of them because women are beautiful. I like women. That's the video. And apparently, this got him into trouble. Let's read about how this got him into trouble. About a year later, it seemed to have reached outside its target audience. And ever since then, I have seen and received many assumptions about my character, my history, my beliefs, my relationships. It was 35 seconds. There was like, there was like 10 seconds of boobage, maybe. 5 seconds of abs, 5 seconds of short stack. I mean, there was so little to take all of these assumptions from about all these different things about this person. Oh my gosh. Character, history, belief, my relationships, and all those of my partner, as well as threats of violence to me, as well as my family. Doxing attempts. I'm
for fuck's sakes.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining like somebody calling his grandmother, and his grandmother answers the phone. I know this is really sad because he's taking time off of work. But I just gotta say this quick. Somebody calls up his grandmother, he picks up, hello, Joe Cat residence. Hello. If your grandson isn't gay within the next week, if he doesn't test it, how much like some boys within a week, I'm gonna burn down your home. Like how does somebody even capitalize upon doxing their phone number? What type of phone calls do you call about this issue? Like, haha, you like women, click, haha. So I've read some of the people who are angry about it, and apparently it's about objectification. They don't like the fact that the women are being talked about and described by their body types instead of, say, their intellect.
Shut up, Karens. How about that?
That's stupid. Yeah. The reason I think that's stupid.
Like, he's not objectifying them. And if he is, he's doing it in a positive way. He's saying he likes women no matter how they look. Like this was like the most progressive thing I could think of any straight man probably would ever say. Like this, there's nothing wrong with what he did. It was good. If anything, this is something that men should do more frequently, be more open about. Because remember last week when we covered Charlie Kirk and those cunts making a big deal about Taylor Swift? And remember, like they were saying like so much things about her that they would never say about any man whatsoever. Well, here's an example, guys, where it's the exact opposite. If men talk about things they like in women, they get shit for it. But if women say what they like in men, they never get shit for it. It's this misandrous double standard for once.
Yeah.
And like he should not have faced any backlash whatsoever, period. But here it is. Not only did he face backlash for it, he's leaving online because of it. There's nothing wrong with what he fucking said.
It is, women are many things. Same reason that men are many things. Men are intelligent, men can be hardworking, they can be lazy, they can have all these different character traits, and they can be hot, or they can be ugly. Same thing is true about women. He was just expressing, not that, women are just slabs of meat, and if you don't get me one of these turkey leg short stacks, then I ain't gonna, oh boy, you're gonna see some sexism like you've never seen before. What he's expressing is that he has interest in women over many things, but one thing he was particularly trying to get across was physical attributes. And what was the physical attributes he was trying to say he likes? All of them, many of them. Saying, wow, look at all of these different types of women of different body types that I find attractive. I thought it was a very body positive message.
Which it was.
Exactly.
I didn't think it
was. All these
fucking
sex negative dipshits who are like saying anything positive.
And also, let's be clear, a lot of it's also misandry and all that.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, guys, just like there are a lot of people on the right that have a problem with like women, minorities, LGBT and all that, there are a lot of people on the left that have a problem with cis people, straight people, whites, and men. There are a lot of people that don't like us because we are who we are. Just like how a lot of conservatives don't like women, minorities, and LGBT for how they are.
No, because we're in the old
because we're the oppressors, don't you know?
Because remember back in the old days that those groups had all the power, and in many ways still do. And so these people are like, "Well, we're going to
privilege plus power." Yeah,
you would oppress you, and since racism is genetic to white people, and sexism is chromosomal to men. We're allowed to hate you, and that's okay.
Privilege plus power. Yeah.
All these.
Remember that some don't even some people, black nationalists, for instance, are literally like, no, racism is genetic. Like, if you're white, you were genetically created to be racist.
Mario characters and oh yeah, this is what I think women are. I received it as, wow, he likes women. He's attractive to women. Is it really? Is that the problem? Is that he's attracted to women and expresses attraction?
And there's nothing
How do
wrong
you
with
express
that.
attraction to women without talking?
Like I said, this is something I think men should be more open about, but they can't because people go apeshit on them and call them like misogynists and all that.
About their body in some sense, or saying that you're attracted to their body or something about them, right? You're attracted, like their hair, their eyes. Oh, you like tall women, you like women with abs. In order to express attraction, you're gonna have to say things like that.
And like guys, a lot of people, and this also applies to women too with men. There are a lot of people that find people of whatever sex attractive because how they look. Like, there's nothing wrong with having physical, like, attractions and all that. There are people that, like, there are a group of people that do like fat women, for example. There are people that like muscular women, tall women, short women, huge tits, flat chested. Like, all these things exist. And if you have one of those preferences, there's nothing wrong with it. People need to get the fuck over it.
Yeah.
I mean, what should it be? Like, oh, what do you find attractive about me? Oh, your aura, your hard-working attitude. Yeah, there's physical things that men find attractive about women. Because that's what straight men feel about women. They feel attracted to women. How soulless do you have to be? How soulless and lifeless and loveless do you have to be to get angry about something like this?
Because he's a man.
Do you see somebody
He's
enjoying
probably
their
white
life,
too.
enjoying one
And
of its
he's
many
fat.
pleasures, including
Evil.
attraction to one of the fairer sexes?
He's a bad person because he exists and has immutable characteristics. For everything the right accuses all leftists of.
And this is why a big reason why I don't want to associate with leftists, because a lot of leftists I've seen act like this.
And your response to that is to look down upon it and snub your nose to a natural human reaction that 80 to 90% of human beings have for one another, outside of like the 1 to 2% of the population that's asexual. It's natural to be attracted to women, to be attracted to the other sex is natural. To be attracted to other people like that is natural. You're asking for people to suppress that natural desire and to be dishonest about that natural desire, to not be who they are and to not express that. It's sexless, it's loveless, it's dull, it's dry. Ugh, I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Just because, like, your vagina's dry doesn't mean the rest of our vaginas have to be dry, too. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's keep
sick
going.
burn! Careful, Dylan. You're going to be called misogynist for that joke.
Granted, a lot of this has been primarily on Twitter, where I can simply log off and ignore the haters. But no small amount has leaked into other parts of my regular day-to-day that is harder to ignore. Private DMs over Discord and Twitch, suspicious packages being sent to my family, but I've always kept quiet about it because speaking out about it publicly, defending myself, any reaction to it would just encourage more and be presented as my own fault as well. But if that's the trade-off to do something like share the things I make that I'm proud of on the internet, seeing as I'm writing this, it's probably an indicator that I'm just not cut out for it. And the best thing for everyone would be to stop and pursue something else. Despite being very grateful for what this job has done for me and my family, I'm simply not strong enough to keep doing this if it means having to accept this kind amount of distress. Perhaps that makes me weak, but I've rarely ever thought...
It is kind of weak. Not gonna lie, Joe Cat. It is kind of weak. Like, here's the funny thing. Your content is still up. Like, that video that we watched, that's still up on your channel. Like, if you think that video is really the problem, I mean, what's causing all your problems, I would have thought you would have probably taken it down so no one can see it and all that. But, nope, it's still up for us to see. So, like, here's the reality. Even if you leave online, you're gonna get shit no matter what. Unless, like, you completely delete your channel and never post anything ever again and stuff like that, you're gonna get shit still. You're gonna get shit even if you, like, leave, whatever. So, if you're gonna get shit forever, why not just do your content anyway? Because you're still gonna get harassed no matter if you do content or not. So tell those fuckers to go fuck off, and they should be in prison for what they're doing too, if they're doing docs and all that stuff. But you got to learn. Yep. You gotta learn to ignore it and get over it.
Otherwise, see, for me, I've just had to learn to just ignore Twitter, ignore comments.
Like me.
I mean, I don't want to say you just do this because it's not easy to ignore those things.
I just really scroll through. I'm like, I just roll my eyes, and I'm like.
You could just ignore them, mute, block, and go on your day, like I do.
For me,
every
like
day.
once I see a certain comment over and over again, and that's the way I get over comments or over insecurities. If somebody tries to go after like an insecurity I have about myself, eventually, if they do it enough times, for most things, I get over it, right? Like you can only hear an insult so many times before it loses its sting. At least in my
the amount
case.
of times
And so
people
for
have
me,
called me mean things about being fat and all my life, and it just doesn't bug me. I just laugh it
being
off.
used to public critique, and when I say critique, a lot
I even
of it
make
is
fun
just
of myself for being
like,
fat for
I
crying
hope you
out
put a
loud.
gun in your mouth, like that type of stuff. For me, it just took a lot of exposure, and then after that, I kind of weathered it quite fine. I had a person in my IRL space recently comment on my online activity around me, and while they didn't say that the majority of content on the internet was like, oh, evil Dylan or whatever, they said some of the things I've seen people say about you online, I couldn't deal with that. And you know, I maybe I take for granted sometimes that amount of exposure I've had, where I see one streamer tell another streamer to end their own life. And I just barely blink because it's just, you know, this just how toxic the internet is, you know. But it's not normal for it's not normal. It's not a way people would behave in person. And all of the critiques that he's getting, nobody, like 99% of the people who are critiquing him over this video would never say this stuff to his face at a conference. And they're using the anonymity of the internet as a shield, as a layer to disconnect themselves from their shitty commentary as they go after this guy's character. I never meant to make anyone upset. I only ever just wanted to make things I was passionate about for fun. I never intended for this one video to really be all that much deeper than just a thing I wanted to do on a whim because I thought it could be fun. I never planned to have YouTube be my job, but people happened to like what I made, so I thought it could be a good idea to make some more of it and use it to pursue projects I've always wanted to make, as well as be the change in YouTube I wanted to see. I was inspired by the channels I watched growing up and the wonderful friends that have encouraged and inspired me to be who I am and make what I want. I still want to make things, but perhaps I should just keep them to myself for the time being. For anyone that cares, I'll still be continuing Heart of Alethian and J Omega Charity, but once those are finished, I will be taking an indefinite break from posting anything online. It's a decision I've considered ever since the first hate wave from about a year ago, but wanted to sit on it and see if the feeling would persist. I know now this is the best choice for me. If you took the time to read all of this, thank you. I'm sorry for causing so much trouble. Thank you for watching my videos.
You didn't cause any trouble, though. Don't let these Karens
really
tell you otherwise.
Just feel like those like. I'm trying to think of another like media parallel to what this feels like, and I'm something in my soul is dragging me towards like those moms in the 90s talking about GTA is gonna like make the kids mass murderers, and I'm thinking about the different like crazy insane reactions to pieces of media that were completely unfair, and all I can land on for this as to what would motivate people to go after this guy, before I talk about, you know, the pressures of, I guess, being a content creator, is for some of them, it must be that, you know, maybe they're, and I'm gonna be very uncharitable here, but for them, maybe they have a loveless life, they aren't getting much affection, and this is just a way of just lashing out. I have no clue what's going on in the personal lives of people, that they see all of the world's problems and they decide that they're going to preoccupy themselves with trying to go after a guy on the internet because he said that he's attracted to women like 90% of other guys. That he expressed that human desire and now he's being punished for it. I don't know what personally possessed these people, but it isn't,
as someone said, they're woke skulls.
To be honest about your desires, to be honest about the
which do exist on the left, people. It's not just the right that are woke skulls.
Attractions are programmed into your brain, unless you're saying that your very programming itself is sexist, and therefore sexism is inherent in both men and women from just their attraction of the other. Number one, that's a horrible interpretation of male-female relations, and I think is not setting us up for happiness and success. But also, I just don't think makes really all that much sense.
I mean, we expect woke scolds are retards.
Yep.
Man, I hope Joe Cat eventually comes back and can continue to make content on the internet. I guess the conservatives were right. It's finally illegal to be straight. It's finally. I thought they were lying. But they were telling the truth. It's finally illegal to be straight. You're no longer, as a man, allowed to be attracted to women. But it is very difficult for people to be online and drag through the mud by people on the internet you don't know, and you don't know the motivations of. You don't know what makes them tick. You don't know what makes them lash out at you or come after you. And it can be very difficult to have like hundreds upon hundreds of people on the internet critiquing you, and you're seeing thousands upon thousands of likes, and just thinking all of the tens of thousands of people that are seeing these posts, and thinking about all your flaws, you think about all your failures. And it can be very difficult for people in that situation. And especially if you're from a part of YouTube, a part of the internet, where that type of critique isn't that common. Or if there is critique, it's just critique like, oh, that's not a good drawing. And it's not, you're a bad person because X, Y, and Z, which is what a lot of this critique was boiling down to. That can be very difficult for people who are not inside, say, like the debate space or a space where that type of
we're in it, so we're used to it.
Is well known.
Yep.
Certainly isn't like that usually in the D&D space, which I know that Joe Cap proliferated himself in. Anyway, I hope eventually he can come back online. If not, then this is a really sad ending, and just shows that a hate mob has a real effect on people, man. The psychological impacts of social media vitriol are real, man. Also, it's illegal to be straight, so the gays have truly won.
Well, apparently that wins now.
So yeah, what do you have to say about that? Woke scolds scaring off Joe Cat for making like the most mildest sweet video ever. So yeah, guys, if you're a straight man or cis or whatever, or white even too, because a lot of people on the left have a problem with whites, as I said. It's okay. Oh, it's okay to be white.
Yes, it's okay to be every race.
And every sex. And gender, whatever you identify as. Nothing
every
wrong.
Gender, every sexuality, every identity, etc.
There's nothing wrong, too, with being attracted to women by physical appearances or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, these woke scolds, these stupid Karens, need to just get over it. Like, a lot of people were saying that these come across people who think it's misogynistic for men to be attracted to women. It's not.
Yeah.
If you,
we should charge him with immediately you get like, what's it again? I'm gonna say, there's people like, it's like Nick Fuentes types and that are like, it's gay to be straight.
Yeah, they did that a lot to Joe Cat in his video. Like, I thought that was like so cringy. There's nothing wrong with a man as being open about their attraction to women. It should be embraced. And like I said, guys, this is a thing that men get shit for and women never do. And just like it was wrong with Charlie Kirk and those cunts to have their misogynistic meltdown towards Taylor last time out, these cunts are wrong to have a meltdown about Joe Cat. And I hope he grows a spine and ignores those cunts and comes back online, because he should not let these assholes win, because this is unacceptable. Don't let those cunts deny you for being who you are. Absolutely just wrong, and it's really infuriating. Alright, guys. So, that is gonna wrap it up here, as, wow, 6 topics, yet we've gone over 2.5 hours, because there was so much to talk about. And this is the last episode of 2023, and hopefully 2024 will be much better, especially, buying out replace him with a progressive, and have a progressive become president. All I can hope for.
That'd be good.
Alright, guys. So that is going to wrap it up here. See you all next time in the next year for episode 93.
Yep.